As we are once again alive upon the internet. Let's make sure everything's working and stuff. so, so let's see if it's going to the right browser. It is. And yeah, let's jump in. And what we're gonna do is the thing that I was gonna do last night or last evening, except that work got in the way.
Safe area entered.
And that is to record that AR video. Not realize actually could have made this folder and stuff already, but totally forgot, of course. So 241121 AR in depth look. Does this one already have? Yeah, let me take the description file and such from the from the TU20 one actually. So in depth like there we go. The links of it are even going to be the same, of course. So that's nice. Yeah, let's go get set up for that. Thinking of just doing the intro just easily, just castle shooting range. That might be the place to go.
Hostile control point detected.
So would this work kind of? Yeah. Just making sure as well that that is all set up. Actually, no, let's go with a bighorn. This might be just a good intro spot. Yeah, let's also for a YouTube video. Well, on chats in between segment in recording segments. At some point, I should just save this somewhere. Keep typing in that each time. As, just to be able to make it into a pinned thing. Pin that one and pin that one. And yeah, we're gonna let's have one last look at all of this craziness. So what was the order again? Yeah, so sadist killers, then measured with rangers and flatlines showing up. And in the game itself, where's my character summary? God damn it, Ransom. Ransom just pushed me out of the way. think I used this as the spot as well for that other video, for the 221. Yeah, let's go. So, because I did look at this kind of yesterday, but it's already all, of course, kind of gone out of my head. Let's see, where does the bighorn show up there? Let's try 2 stacks. And then the strains and the optimists kind of show up, and then at the end all of the fast hands ones. And a chameleon kind of down there as well. Sure, I just want to right. I'm gonna have a peek at the old version. Because weren't there a bunch of like weren't most of the okay, so this is the old one. Because it wasn't it like here that chameleon was like even way behind the fast hands ones, yeah. Man, this one at this point it almost looks cute how tiny this is. It's basically just a few flat lines, a few strains, and also it's not all of the weapons even, because although all of the weapons in this one kind of does make it a little, you know, a little long, but I think it's the right way to do it actually. If we're doing it anyway, might as well have the extended list. We can always shorten it if we want to. And then yeah, on the sustain end, it's the other way around between those two. Yeah. Yeah, let's actually record an intro and then we'll go into it. Oh, and hey there, Master Hitman. What are we up to today? I'm gonna record first the AR comparison video, which is basically going through this big list and kind of just talking. And yeah, just first on the burst and on the sustain. And it's a video I wanted to make last evening, but yeah, last evening work kind of got in the way. I had to go and fill in for someone as they got themselves sick. And that is the planned video for kind of this week. So yeah, I'm first gonna do an intro here and then we'll go in and actually do the video. Kinda still have boogers in my eyes, apparently, even though I've been up for quite a while. Also, actually, let's have a little bit of the sugar. A little bit of sugar rush won't hurt much, I hope. And it's old and no new content. Well, thank you for sharing, Grim, and follow your own advice and keep your opinions. Like, what do you expect coming into someone's stream that is aligned with a game and going like, this game is old and you're dumb for playing it, basically? My answer to that is basically just fuck off. and that's the polite version. So yeah, please do. Because I enjoy this game, and I don't let other people tell me what to enjoy or not. And I don't go out of my way to tell other people what to enjoy or not, the way that you just did, like a dumbass. So because you have people wanting to just share their opinion. I feel that is a thing of all times. Just people going, hey, I think this, so this must be correct, and then also saying it in a dumb way like that. But yeah, that issue was good. It got me kind of warmed up with my voice and stuff, so yelling at that idiot. So yeah, let's actually go and do an intro, and then we'll go from there. Just zoom that a little bit so we have the entire big horn there. Yeah. Yeah. To be still playing again. Oh yeah, the thing is as well, like saying that a game is old, like what the hell does that mean? I still play like Transport Tycoon, like the deluxe version, like it's an upgrade version, but yeah, that's a 20-year-old game or something. Oh, I sometimes still play like NES games and stuff. Like, what does old have to mean anything with that? And no new content is not an issue when the content that already exists is unmatched by anything else. Like, I could be playing Destiny, I could be playing like a bunch of other stuff that is like getting missions and stuff. I'm not doing so there. Why is that? And the answer is because nothing gives me the gameplay and the tier crafting that Division has to this degree. Like, not Warframe, not Destiny, not like some MMOs would, but then MMOs don't give the shooting. So this is my preferred mix of all of those things. Yeah, let's do an intro. Let's not get sidetracked too long. Yeah. It's an in-depth look here, yeah. So I'm gonna wait for her to like grab again. No. Hi, I'm IKEA, and for today's video, we're going to have an in-depth look finally into the AR comparisons on strikers, as the big spreadsheet has been done for quite a bit, but I've been sidetracked with other things, as we're gonna go over basically this humongous spreadsheet that I've prepared. These may seem familiar to some if you were around for the TU20 changes, where Project Resolve came in, where I made a somewhat smaller than this list with some of the ARs, with some of the talents. This time it's a lot longer, as you may have noticed there, and that is because we're doing basically all of the ARs are in the list. No cherry-picked selection, although the last one I was perfectly fine with, kind of cherry-picking some. But then this time, we just put basically all weapons in there, together with more talents than before. So Killer is now in here, Ranger is now in here, Measured is now in here. All three, because they are pretty good. Killer always was, but now Measured and Ranger, both also, even on ARs, will do pretty good. And we'll go through them, and this also includes all of the exotics. And the important part of this one is that basically on the right side there, as we have it, it is not just the weapons stats, which for instance the burst and sustain tables would be. This is including it on a build. So we have it actually on a build. That is what the right side stats are coming from. We've put it on an Obliterate Striker basically as our template, and adjusted as well, for instance, for when we have flatline and we need to have that linked laser pointer to lose some crit chance or crit damage nowadays for that. And for instance as well, for if weapons have -1 mod, this is the way to kind of see how they kind of land up For instance, for things like the F2000 and the Honey Badger that are pretty high on the burst and sustain list, but looks can be deceiving. Although as well, again, this is then on Striker, so in some ways, some weapons will move up and down on different builds. For instance, that loss of a crit chance mod is less important when you factor in, for instance, putting it on a high end, where you have much more crit chance than a Strikers would, and because of that, the impact of that is less. Also, of course, some talents on a build that maybe would have more or less crit damage, such as Strained, would be affected by that. Or, for instance, as well here, Measured would be affected by if we were or weren't using a chest striker where we don't have total weapon damage at all. Actually, without total weapon damage, it would be higher. So this, at the end of the day, is still not a perfect comparison. That is not what we're ever going for. There is no such thing as that. But this is, we can use this as kind of a comparison point to kind of go through all of the weapons, kind of discuss them. And of course, as well, as that always will come up whenever we talk about in-depth into DPSs, people will go like, DPSs, they don't matter, like you have to hit the enemy and stuff, that's much more important. Or they go like, just go test it in the game. And the answer to all of those is that this, by itself, isn't that great of a tool. In-game knowledge, by itself, isn't as great of a tool either. Combining the two actually will help. Because when people go just test this in game, are you gonna really go and test every AR for like several hours, which you kind of have to run them for several hours to kind of get a feel for them, to get a comparison, an evaluation of how they compare to other weapons? Ain't nobody got time for that. DPS charts can expedite that, but there is also, again, no... you can't also just use a DPS chart without using in-game knowledge. For instance, in the Project Resolve times, or like in TU21 times, the AK was pretty high on burst and sustain. It wasn't a recommended weapon, though, and that is because of the downsides that it had. I'm going to account here as well for in-game knowledge, for I know most of these weapons pretty well. I go out of my way to actually run different types of weapons regularly just to get a feel for them. Also because I have access to all of them, and I go out of my way to have access to all of them. So yeah, we're going to be using basically this together with my in-game knowledge to kind of come to certain conclusions about this. So yeah, it's not just DPS. That is not generally what we do when we actually in-depth look. So yeah, let's actually go get kind of started with the burst side, and then later on we'll go into the measured side, and everything will be timestamped down below, of course. Although just with burst and sustain, we're not going to per weapon timestamp this, of course, because there is many. So yeah, let's go actually jump into the burst side of things. Yeah, let me catch up on chat here for a second. That's kind of... Although that became basically the intro plus premise. I was going to do them separately, but that's fine now. Basically, like the first 20 seconds it's like the intro there. I guess all the games are still good. I mean, yeah. The thing is, if a game is worth playing, so the thing is, eventually you'll get bored of doing the same thing over and over again. And then that's more the thing. Like, there's plenty of old games that are worth playing for the first time. There's also plenty of old games worth revisiting over time. Currently SHE level 43. Last night I played Summit for the first time. These guys were on floor 60. They left that's floor 60 this morning over to 71. I start over, just keep going since I started on 60 plus. Just keep going. There is a quest kind of thing to be had there, where you want to have gotten 5 pieces from the... If you look up the Ridgeway, the Division 2 Ridgeway, there's basically a project that you receive after getting 5 pieces from the summit. But for now, you shouldn't be focused too much on that. I would say you can also always just... Because once you reach the top, it loops around. You go back to floor 1 and you can go back up again. And yeah, whenever you matchmake or join somebody else, you will get their checkpoint if it's higher than yours. So if it's lower than yours, you don't get reset like down. But if theirs is higher than yours, you will receive their checkpoint. But yeah, for just running around Summit and stuff, it's fine basically to just keep going. And hey there, runner. Yeah, let's. Oh, actually, I should have done it.
Hostile control point identified.
To go over the build. Yeah, right. Because yeah, first we're gonna introduce kind of the build. I know, wait a sec. And hey there, Sam. What's a good setup for all blue armor? Kind of depends, PvP or PvE. I'm gonna guess PvP if it's all blue. Because you can actually, for the PvP version, you can use the ninja. It's not the worst choice. So go ninja, 3-piece, and then so it kind of depends. The old way was quite often to go either 2-piece like Picaros plus a piece of Brazos, but likely Picaros is now no longer worth it. Well, actually, usually Picaros plus like Fox or Contractors either with a blue core. I would think now Fox plus Contractors, just or Walker. Actually, yeah, now that Picaros is no longer what it was, because a lot of people would run Picaros and then Tech and then Capacitor. I wonder if that's still worth it. I haven't looked into it. Also, yeah, I'm not much of a PvPer. I do know my way around PvP builds and stuff, but I keep up with kind of the meta and stuff. But I haven't PvP'd in like a year or something. So. But overall, yeah, with Umbra, you can go with Ninja Bike just because the backpack talents that we would use in PvE, which would defeat kind of the purpose of a Ninja Bike. You don't run vigilance in PvP. So, but yeah, I can go Ninja Bike 3 pieces. Likely now, Fox plus Contractors blue core. That would likely beat most other things. You could also just go Cheska and actually even have a little bit of hazard protection instead of, because that would give about the same amount of damage, but we get nowadays 20% hazard protection, which, for those rare statuses. Oh, no, they're elite. Yeah, let's first introduce the build and then. So which scene am I going to? This one. Yeah. So and first, to kind of start off with the build that we're kind of going to be using for this, this is going to be a striker setup for ARs with a Cheska chest, obliterate, coyotes, the standard. Nowadays, though, of course, we would need one crit chance the way we would need for one high ends, because Elmo, of course, is no longer like the general pick. It is still a general pick, but even then, you would need one crit chance mod in here. So that's kind of how this build is set up. And then it's shifting crit chance by mod or by minor to address if we lose another crit chance mod, basically. And basically, we are still putting crit chance mods into these weapons just because we need to get high with the crit chance. So effectively, we are still picking crit chance mods here. In the SMG1, we'll see actually that we're going to start picking some crit damage mods as well. You can actually align your crit chance, crit damage a little bit by shifting here, because you can shift, for instance, on this FAMAS, 2 of these to crit damage, take the crit chance on the gear, and you can actually shift up this 51 to a 53. So the FAMAS here, for instance, could not do it on the barrel because it does not have a crit damage pick there, because you do need a long rail for that. I am keeping this at 15 here and at 51 because, as well, we're going to be comparing with Coyote 15 to 25. So we're kind of setting up as best for that as we can. Together with that, actually, some of the exotics, of course, we don't get to pick how much crit chance we have there. And aligning it in this way, one of the nice things now is actually if you have like things like a FAMAS, you can actually swap it out to an Elmo or to an Eagle Bearer just directly without having to swap around with mods anymore. And yeah, let's go actually look at our big list and let's go get actually started there. We're going to, of course, zoom in a little bit and jump in. I'm going to cut it there just to not have to redo that initial segment if I mess up horrendously here. Yeah. Actually, let's start with explaining that. Yeah, my voice just wants to go raspy the whole time. It's just doesn't want to cooperate, does it? But it's fine. Still the little bit of last lingering effects of that cold. Yeah. Let's get going. And here we're gonna get started by the burst side of things. We'll of course look at sustained DPS in the chart at the bottom here a little bit. But starting with burst, one thing of note is that I'm not starting the 100% at the top of this chart, mostly because some of the numbers on some of these is pretty high. So yeah, we're picking over here just to actually have a little bit more specificity when we go a little bit lower in the list, because otherwise it drops out really quickly. And of course, we have to make note that some talents, as we'll be discussing them, aren't per se always active. I am going to expect, well, I'm going to explain it here, but looking at these charts for yourself, I would expect from people that if you're deep enough into it to be looking at these kinds of tables and stuff, that you know that, for instance, Sadist on Strikers is not going to be always active. Killer by itself is not always going to be active just because you need to activate it with a kill. And same, for instance, with some of the exotics, they don't start with their talents basically active. You need to, for instance, with the Chameleon, stack it up, or with the Strega, you need to get some kills before this happens. We'll be factoring that in kind of into here, of course. But if we're just looking at them from a pure burst DPS standpoint, then yeah. Nowadays, a lot of the exotics are going to show up pretty up high. I've already made the SMG one of this one as well, which is in the big folder that is linked down below. So yeah, you can go have a look at it. And of course, as well, this file is in there already as well, so you can look at it. Some of the exotics are pretty up high. So for instance, here we start off with this Strega at 5 stacks. Now 5 stacks means that you've already killed 5 enemies, and this is the 6th enemy that you're killing within a 20-meter area. This isn't going to be pretty consistent because also it's personal kills only. That means that this is really only viable solo. It is on-kill talents basically that way. And you're not going to get up this high that often. But 3 stacks, 4 stacks, and maybe even 2 stacks of a Strega will perform like that. That is points that you will quite consistently get to. The Strega looks actually pretty good. You got to remember that, yeah, we're giving up a little bit of crit chance and crit damage. We only have 5 crit chance, 5 crit damage on the Strega. from mods. That is actually what is kind of losing it a little bit before it has some stacks, because for the rest of it, it actually has the fall stats, and the fall is actually looking pretty decent nowadays. But yeah, you need to kind of consistently have more than 1 or 2 stacks for it. I'm gonna cut it there. My voice is going. Also, that was like a way too slow of a start. Again, we can go much faster than that, and we have to, because also we don't want to be here for like 2 hours. Yeah, God damn it. Anybody know a good voice mechanic? Roll my voice into the shop. I'll be fine. Actually, that was like the big one, I think. Yeah, let's try that again. And let's start off by the burst comparison. We, of course, have the sustain version of it all the way down there. And this will, of course, be timestamped, so you can jump around. First off, let's discuss that we're not taking the 100% point at the top here as it would normally be. I'm moving it down a little bit just so we have a little bit better specificity when we go a little bit lower, because otherwise these numbers get kind of crunched and they become a little bit closer to each other, and it's kind of hard to tell them apart. But here we're starting at the sadists, the first one, where I would say that you can have uptime on it. Although, of course, with these as well, I'm kind of expecting anybody that is into numbers enough to go into here. If you're analyzing this for yourself, that you kind of keep in mind, of course, that, for instance, yeah, Chameleon, this body active, activating the middle pip on the Chameleon. This, of course, takes 60 shots at the very least, because you need to hit 60 body shots to get this. So this isn't active from the start, and that also can make this a little bit misleading if you're not accounting for that. Same, for instance, for Sadist. So, for instance, on an OD, Sadist would have decent uptime. On a Strikers, here, kind of being portrayed as kind of like solo, it won't. You can't keep the uptime on this. Neither, for instance, on Killer, where the very first kill that you make definitely won't have Killer active, and maybe even the second kill. And if you get really unlucky, maybe even the third kill won't have Killer active yet, because, of course, it is based on getting a crit kill, and that is at best a 60% chance. So you have to kind of keep in mind that we're kind of, with a lot of these talents, that we're approximating them as well, or just only having them as being active all the time, because I can't really make a decision of how often will Killer be active. That depends on the build, that depends on your playstyle, depends on if you're solo or in a group, and if you're competing for the kills. So this does require a little bit more knowledge than just looking at it. Same, for instance, as well. For instance, once we reach the measured, this is the averaging out of measured. So this is the average of the first and second part of measured together over the entire mag. And same, for instance, with strained and stuff. We're doing a theoretical, basically, where we're firing to the end of the mag, which is not actually how you generally end up playing. You don't always reach the end of a mag, of course, especially if you're me and you habitually reload way too much. So let's get started here at the top. I'm actually gonna, you know what, we need to segment more often, so I'm just gonna do that. So we're gonna cut there and then go from where we actually start comparing stuff. Let me catch up. Where's the drill? Or can we should? No, we're just. Oh, in this list, you mean? The drill is too situational. So the thing of it would be the 20% would be the same as. Actually, do I have a 20%? We used to have a 20%. I think. Oh no, we don't. But there will be a flat 20% with the normal, and then the 35 with the thing. We'll just put it at the top. But the thing with it is, you have to get 2 kills at a different range, and then you activate it for 5 seconds. Like, as a talent, it doesn't stack up well. It's mostly just that 5 seconds. Like 35 is a lot, 5 seconds is a little, way too little. Compared to, for instance, I would, especially for instance solo, replace that with killer and have a much more consistent uptime with a talent that just requires 1 kill. So, because yeah, a lot of stuff isn't in here. This is even though it's a pretty big list, it's still a curated list. Like I don't have like breadbasket in here or or other things as well. It's basically most of the all of the weapons usually, except for Sadist actually here up here, and then with the more effective talents. So yeah, let's cough a few more times, and then kind of try again. Yeah, come on, voice. I know you can do it. This was the issue with that striker build showcase as well. And it's still here, annoyingly. Yeah, let's get going. At least try. Yeah. And one thing we'll see recurring through all of these lists, as of course we're gonna start with ARs, but I'm gonna go through all the weapon types eventually. A lot of the exotics are very much at the top. This was the case in the past as well, but not as much as it is now, because yeah, some talents of some weapons, like the Chameleon's body activation, body activated talent part, is very strong and bumps up the Chameleon pretty high. Here we have also the Strega. The Strega generally, so the 5-star Strega is the highest burst DPS in this list. That doesn't mean that you will generally get to this, of course, right? Having 5 stacks on someone means you've killed 5 other people. So this is the 6th kill you're going for. They have all had to have been within 20 meters of each other. Situationally, you might get this once or twice, but that doesn't still mean that then the Strega is bad, because the 3-stack and the 4-stack are pretty high up here. And even the 2 stacks is pretty high up here. Even if we go and try to find the 1-stack, we see that even on the 1-stack, it's kind of in the middle of some of the weapons, with like measured a little bit higher than it. A few weapons with flatline, although some of them are like medium numbers. The Strega is definitely pretty powerful, as long as you get some stacks going. It is, of course, an on-kill talent. There's always a distinction to be made between on-kill talents and not on-kill talents, or general use talents. If you don't have to get the kill, situationally, that you might not even get the kill, especially if you're in, let's say, a raid where there's 8 people, or well, 7 others, or even in a group with 4 people and 3 other people, basically, you're competing for the kills. That means that just percentually your amount of kills will drop, because the game doesn't spawn, like if it spawns 4 people for 1 person, it doesn't spawn 8 people for 2 people. What it does instead is it raises the veterancy of several of the enemies and might spawn like 1 more enemy. Because of that, the amount of kills doesn't really rise as the amount of players on the teams rises. If you're competing for the kills, all on kill talents, that includes, for instance, as well, killer and such, will kind of take a hit because of that. Instead of things like measured or such, where it is basically active without any input from your end. It's going to give you that amount of extra damage. Same for instance, Strained or Optimist, which are basically less conditional than something that is on kill. So here we also have, for instance, the Chameleon pretty high up here. The Chameleon is looking actually pretty good. It was already last season, since Project Resolve basically gave it the ability to have a detox as its third stat. Chameleon for just solo player play is pretty decent. Its biggest downside is always going to be its effective range. So now even its optimal range got taken up to 20 meters, but still its effective range, the range at which it is actually effective to be used, is a lot lower than that. I feel actually they should maybe just add to the leg part, which has reload speed, maybe some weapon handling. That one might actually help it a little, because just the accuracy of it is to the point that once you exceed that 20 meters as well, kind of, well, even the 15-meter mark, you start missing quite a few shots. The thing with the striker, for instance, in comparison, is that it is a fall, and a fall is a pretty, it has also the recoil pattern of mostly of the fall. So it does actually land its shots on target. It isn't jumping around that much. And actually, yeah, if you keep the pointer on the enemy, the shots actually go there. Where for a Chameleon, they kind of go around the circle. That's very. It has a recoil pattern of a SMG, of course, which is a lot worse than for ARs. Then we get to the first few of the sadists. And yeah, then of note here is that, of course, the sadists, they do not have perfect uptime. You can't have perfect uptime on them. Yeah, god damn it. The game. I forgot about the game. But I can cut that. Because I made it very clear of, like, going past the sadists, or past the exotics there. So.
Safe area detected. Hostile control point nearby.
Shut up, Isaac. Not that that background matters, but I don't want the music there. Okay, so. Yeah, let's keep going. And we'll continue to sadist. Sadist will, of course, not have perfect uptime on. If we were to use it basically solo on a striker. Every third kill would have bleed, but that, of course, eats into your uptime if we were to just use the talent as is. You could, of course, in other ways, try to affect having bleed on enemies with either things like stinger hives or such. None of those is really effective here. That also means that this is basically in here just as a comparison point. Also, for instance, if we have an OD in the team. So Sadist now is just a flat 30 for the non-perfect. The perfect is 35, but of course that's on a Carnage, so we won't be seeing that till we get to LMGs. And yeah, all of the Sadist weapons here, although I've made it a shorter list on the Sadists, just we've taken out a few of the weapons. And also this is kind of the indicator of somewhat the weapons that are still somewhat effective. And also as well, we have the Pyromaniac in here, which is the same 30% as Sadist would be, but then of course just to enemies that are on fire. Sadist now, with its much increased numbers, if you're running alongside of an OD, might be the best pick to go for. The thing is though that on kills, you get 50% of your magazine size added as a special ammo. That means that, for instance, on a FAMAS, that is 25 rounds that really go really quickly. Same, for instance, with 20 rounds on a fall, that even though its rate of fire is slower, that 20 rounds is actually leaving faster, or just as fast, basically. So it might make sense, for instance, to run an LMG. So you get 75 rounds, and alongside of an OD. It is definitely a pick to consider, but not, of course, in this way, not just as a solo player or such, or when you are not doing anything to affect getting Sadist procced. But yeah, just by value, of course, by 30%, it is very much higher than the rest. Then we see actually one of the exotics that did get a pretty big buff. Both the base model got a little bit of more burst, and then also its talent got improved, which is the Bighorn. And the Bighorn actually is my general pick for use against most things, because versus the Strega and the Chameleon that we kind of saw on top, its stacking is actually a lot faster because it's basically a 25 headshots. You can get that out as long as there are headshots to be had. And this as well, I should actually take this moment to explain that we're not using 100% headshot rate. So this headshot number is basically 20% of whatever it was going to be. And we're using 60% DTA, which will here only really affect the capacitor, which is the only weapon in here that doesn't have DTH as one of its stats. Of course, because that's DTA. This 20% headshot, the higher this headshot rate goes, actually, the better the Bighorn performs. So here, specifically because we're choosing 20% headshot rate, actually, the Bighorn is actually getting pushed down a little, because actually at the 100% headshot rate, it would be the top of this list. We're also here at the grade 27 to keep in mind as well, because that will affect things like Measured and Optimist later on, pushing them down a little bit. But as well, what you can do with these, they are in my Google Drive, and you're allowed to copy them. So one thing you could do is, if you want different numbers, is to copy these to your own Google Drive, and then you can play around with the numbers. You would need to resort them as well because they don't automatically resort. But yeah, you can at least play around with the numbers and kind of see how they stack up at different numbers. These are generally, I'm going to compare all of these with always 20% headshot rate, grade 27, and 60% DTA. As that's going to be just the general. We need to pick some numbers there because, yeah, if we just put it at 100% headshot rate, the Bighorn will win by a lot, but that's not indicative to real play. If we put it at 0% headshot rate, Bighorn is going to lose by a lot. So that's why I'm picking 20 as a general expectation of like what can be hit in if you're really trying well. But yeah, the Bighorn, especially if you're getting some headshots in, it is one of the higher picks. And there's two ways actually of setting it up as well, at 48 crit chance or 54. So the 54 version is actually what I would generally go for. And mostly because if you're at the 54, the 0 to 15 does a lot better. If you're at this 48, you can even extract a little bit more when you're at the long range. But generally, I would set up more so for short range and mid range over mid range and long range. And that means that actually, I would pick this 54, but you don't lose that much. You lose basically a few 100K off of your burst, 200K-ish, almost 300K-ish off of the burst there. A few percentage points, but yeah, I would generally actually put it up as this 54, but I had both in here just for comparison's sake, because of course, yeah, the 48 will perform better. Then we have, yeah, that Strega with 2 stacks here. We also have that, the sadists kind of come all the way down to here. The sadists are, of course, 30% basically added. Then we have the killers, which is actually around 20% added on this build. Because, of course, it's dependent also on how much crit damage you already have. So when we are here with the killers, of course, you need to make a kill with crit, the last shot being a crit shot for it to activate. That means that you don't have perfect uptime on this. You, of course, definitely don't have it before you make a kill. So, but now with the values that it has, and yeah, it's basically, as much as the sadists were just an enclave by themselves up there, same as it's true for the killers. They're all kind of separated out here, out altogether. And this basically also kind of shows us the ranking of the ARs. Same for actually, for instance, with Sadist. We basically have, because the F2000 and the Honey Badger, for instance, are higher than the FAMAS on the burst and sustain tables. If we kind of go over here, especially on burst, actually, we're LMGs. Let's get the ARs. The F2000 and the Honey Badger are higher than the FAMAS, but actually, when we account for on build, because when we go on build, of course, we're losing that 5 crit chance or 10 crit damage. And then, yeah, the F2000 and the Honey Badger actually fall behind the FAMAS, especially here on a striker, which is kind of would prefer more the crit chance than the increased base damage that those two weapons have. Then, yeah, with the killers, we basically have the full list as it would be. Now, some of the weapons here that are actually without that crit chance mod actually raise a little bit. So the F2000 was, for instance, lower than the fall in the last, in the sadist part of here. And now it is above the fall. The reason for that is that they are pretty close to each other, but as well, actually, because crit chance is lower on the build itself, the crit damage actually becomes lower. That's the actual thing, because we flip one crit chance over. That means that the amount that it receives from killer is actually higher, because that stat is less diminished. It is lower than for the fall, so it actually gains more from it. And that is enough for these two to flip around. And yeah, that's the thing with talents, actually. By the way that they affect certain ways in certain builds, it's hard to give just general answers, but we can kind of use these as guidelines. Just Striker being a very popular build. But in the end, yeah, you often have to actually calculate it out for the build that you're going to use. Of note here as well, so we're going FAMAS F2000 Fall CTAR. The P416 is kind of around the same area as the M4, a little bit higher, but generally I would pick the M4 over the P416, or if we're going that route, actually even the CTAR as well is a general pick here as well. I would say that FAMAS is still overall one of the best picks. It has a long reload, but actually a lot of stuff that is around it now, especially the F2000, the CTAR, all of those as well have pretty long reloads. These are then, of course, taken from on Striker, so we're getting that 15% weapon handling in here, and plus the watch. And then we kind of reach a point where we have some of the somewhat shorter reloads, and then this is kind of the mid-pack of P416 M4 Honey Badger G36 Carbine 7. Especially the Carbine 7 has a really short reload, so it is one of the picks to make for general running gunniness. You give up a little bit of damage. The Carbine 7 is pretty accurate. It is pretty flat shooter. To me, not as flat as the M4. I would maybe pick that over, except for the fact that it does reload noticeably faster. So this isn't, of course, a big jump from basically 2 seconds to 1.86, but you definitely feel this in gameplay. PDR, which is actually pretty high on the burst and sustain tables, is losing that mod, right? It's jumping down here. Basically, after this Carbine 7, all of these weapons I wouldn't generally pick. The stat we go mostly for in Division 2 is burst DPS. Most of our fights are more aligned with that. We don't have those like really long fights, like 8-9 minute fights often. There are places that does happen, so sometimes it is better to do so. Let's say, for instance, some of the raid bosses, or some of the legendary titles final room. It's a very long fight, so you could then lean more towards sustain, but generally we lean more towards burst. And yeah, I would definitely say that, especially if we kind of look at it at the skiller part, the FAMAS and F2000 and the CTAR are general good picks. All three have things going for them. So the FAMAS is actually pretty accurate, and but a little unstable, so you have to recoil compensate. It's pretty hard for it. The F2000 is a lot more stable but less accurate than the other ones, but both of them kind of are landing at a pretty high burst. If we then drop down 1%, basically, we can go to the CTAR. The CTAR is a lot more stable, a lot more accurate, but then gives up a little bit of burst DPS. The fall is sandwiched between these two. Even losing that 10 rounds, actually, it does keep up somewhat on sustain, and actually beats some of the ones around it, mostly because it has a much faster reload. So the fall is also a general good pick. That is basically the S and A category. Then basically, if we kind of go to the Bs, the kind of the mid pack, and then yeah, we have basically the P416, the M4, the Honey Badger, and the Carbine 7. I wouldn't pick this G36 because the P416 basically does what it does, just better overall, I would say. And then basically the rest of this pack, I wouldn't generally pick. If you have a really good one or you like the weapon type, the thing to remember as well that the spread between these is between basically 12.7 to 13.5. Substantial, but not that substantial, right? Like, if I had to do all of the missions or something or everything with an ACR, that's not going to be the issue. That's not going to be the deal breaker, right? But generally, yeah, if you're going to make a pick higher in this list. Now we have actually the Chameleon with just the head active, so that is the crit chance, crit damage. We're not actually setting up our crit chance to be effectively leaving a big hole for this. That means that we're just really good getting the crit damage parts of this. That's also why this is kind of lower than it could be. But then if we were to set it up in a way where we're leaving a gap for the crit chance, now all of the other parts, so just the body active and stuff, would drop way below. And I would say generally, I wouldn't set up a Chameleon build that way. I would just take the crit damage basically off the headshot. Maybe leave like a few crit chance points open for this to fill up alongside of a Coyote, but yeah, it is. But it is still, keep in mind that, yeah, the body was already really high, and then yeah, this is the head. And the both of them together means that this is the all active, right? And then it's basically just the second place. Chameleon is definitely a decent choice, especially if you're kind of much more upfront and up close and personal. If you have a few blue cores and such, it can make for a decent pick if you're kind of going close range. Then the killers kind of end. We're gonna run. We do have, for instance, here the Savage Wolverine. I wouldn't generally pick the Savage Wolverine. I did put most of the names that have a damage talent in here. The Savage Wolverines just being weapon damage and also needing a kill at very short range. I might get this wrong, but it was 8 meters, I believe. 8 meters is not a lot. 1 meter better than the normal. Normal close and personal, but yeah, you wouldn't want to go for this. Also, the Honey Badger is kind of like lower A, higher B kind of pick. Both of these things combined, yeah, I would, for instance, pick a FAMAS with Measured over it. Measured is now actually pretty good. We can kind of see actually that, so for Flatline, I've only put in the weapons that have the underbarrel, the long underbarrel rail, because of course they're the only one that can equip the linked laser pointer. Also, we're losing 5 crit chance for that, so that's all accounted for. We can kind of see that the measures are kind of starting here. A few of the flat lines are in the middle of this, and also some of the rangers at 20 meter. So ranger at 20 meter is basically a 10% amp. We're now getting for every 4 meters, we're getting 2 amp instead of 5. So it is actually pretty effective, especially not so much, I would say, maybe for ARs, although it can be. If Measured wasn't bumped up, I would say it definitely could be a general pick. But yeah, I'm going to generally go for this Measured because we're landing kind of, yeah, where the test subject is. And keep in mind that this is with InSync just active all the time, which one of the things with InSync is, while it is, and that's also why it's not in this list per se, while it is a good amount of damage, the uptime on it actually isn't perfect. Quite often, even if you're running turret and drone or such, there's moments where one part of it will fall away and then you lose a little bit of damage. So for instance, the drone, quite often, if you're using a drone, for instance, to trigger it, might just go and kind of do its own thing or get stuck on something, and then you don't have the uptime on it always. Where, for instance, with Measured, you just need to be shooting. Now, the first half of Measured is definitely better than the second half of Measured. So actually, if you are someone like me that's kind of habitually reloads a little bit too much, you will actually extract a little bit more out of Measured than even listed here, because this is the average of the first and second part, basically combined and then divided by 2, basically. But we also see that, yeah, some of the flatline weapons are kind of in that same ballpark. because flatline, of course, we're not gaining the full 15%. Basically, we're gaining a little bit less than that because we're giving up a mod slot, which could be a 5 crit chance or a 10 crit damage. And because of that, actually, yeah, for instance, the fall here is landing on basically the flatline and the measured basically being next door to each other, just side by side. But we see that's continuing here. Is the CTAR, the P416 then with flatline, and then the P416 with measured, a little bit more separated than the other ones. And then, yeah, some of the rangers starting to show up. But again, kind of in the same order, because, yeah, the FAMAS is always going to be generally the highest. Here, it's a little bit deceiving because this part is actually, these are really close to each other, and then basically, yeah, the CTAR then starting there and the fall with the Rangers. Of note as well, here we have actually Kingbreaker. So one of the questions that has been popping up a lot is, do we keep Kingbreaker or do we go with something else? Kingbreaker, so for instance, with the Heartbreaker Tech Tank, where you're close up, Kingbreaker can still be a choice, because even though it is, even on, for instance, the Tech Tank, it is lower than, especially the Fall and the M4, which is over there. It is lower than both of those, also on the Heartbreaker Tech Tank. It is actually ahead by it's basically a percent behind those, but it is actually 10% ahead on sustain, which makes it that as long as the accuracy is not a big issue, the Kingbreaker can still be a pick. But of course, an Fall or an M4 have much better accuracy and stability, and you can actually reach out and hit enemies far away. Which, for instance, if you're doing a red Heartbreaker or just some spotter build where you're not up in people's faces using the Kingbreaker as a shotgun, I would go generally either M4 or Fall with flatline. Especially the Fall with flatline actually works pretty well. The M4 is a little bit more accurate, which has its value there basically. Also, here we have the Invisible Hand, the AUG. This I was expecting this to be a little bit higher than it is here. It is actually a 15% rate of fire, but here it's getting eaten into a little bit because of Striker. Those two are additive to each other, so it's a 1.5 times it isn't a 1.5 times a 1.5, but it's a 1.5 plus 0.15. So it's adding up together, and that does eat a little bit into the effectiveness here. This would be a little bit higher on if this was, for instance, a high end or something that did not have the rate of fire buff. But the AUG's issue, even though, because yeah, we should actually discuss the AUG. The AUG's issue is much more in its handling than it is in other things, because it does not have 42 rounds, which seems a little bit odd. It's the only AR that is above 50 rounds, with the Fall being the only other that is then below 50 rounds. But that one kind of makes sense because the Fall seems balanced around that. The AUG, I have no idea why it went to 42 rounds. And that does affect it a little bit by being a choice for some things. So if you're, for instance, going strained and stuff, you can extract a little bit more strained out of it. Making it one of the higher strains, for instance. Same, for instance, if you're doing the ammo reduction modifier of this season, it loses less so than basically other weapons and such. But yeah, it's just oddity. But then, yeah, the Invisible Hand isn't as high as I was expecting it to kind of be, because 15% rate of fire seems like a lot, and it is. But of course, yeah, it's kind of, because yeah, it's landing up next to a Kingbreaker, which is a 20% amp. Although, yeah, this is losing a 5 crit chance mod, of course, to gain that amp, basically. So that's kind of why they're aligning there. Then, yeah, we can continue on, and we start seeing some of the first strains towards the end of basically where the mid pack of measured is the top strained. For instance, here as well, still the FAMAS, actually, and then going down, we see, as I'm searching for the first Optimus, well, we first have the Shield Splinter here, of course, with Perfect Optimus. Optimus did get a buff, but here we're going with Grade 27. I think the buff to Optimus was basically just to kind of offset a little bit how much it's losing nowadays. when we go with high grading. Now, it kind of depends, of course, if you are going with high grading, but if you are, things like Optimist don't fare well because it's in the same pool, so it's adding to that same weapon damage pool. And yeah, the Optimists are definitely falling behind more and more so. Because if we take, for instance, a FAMAS with Optimist, it is below an FAMAS with Strained. As I'm trying to find it again, as I completely lost it. But yeah, the FAMAS with Strained, actually, the reason likely is because it is up there. Okay, it's above the Kingbreaker. Still, Strained beating Optimist, even at these RPMs. Quite often, of course, people go like, RPM matters for Optimist, or for Strained, or for that discussion. Not so much. It's much more firing time. RPM is an important factor of firing time, but it's not the only factor of firing time. And yeah, just the amount that Strained adds over Optimist is generally more. Now, of course, the thing is that Optimist can retain. So Optimist, when you just release the trigger, it will retain at that point, and then you can start shooting a different enemy. Strained will usually fall away. Even if you're going from one target to another, that is usually more than half of a second, especially if those targets are far apart. Basically, as soon as you stop firing, it's quite likely that Strained will fall away. But then, yeah, we have basically the big pack of Strained and Optimist kind of coming in. Of note as well, here we should discuss the Strega at 1 stack is already kind of in the pack with weapons like Ranger weapons and definitely higher than Strained weapons and such. That makes that Strega basically already with 1 stack is kind of effective. And that's kind of the thing with the Strega and a lot of the exotics. They're quite high. They're a little bit too high maybe, because as well we have here the Bighorn at 38 crit chance. The 54 crit chance is actually a lot lower down there at 0 stacks. But here we already see the 48 crit chance one, which is extracting the most out of the Coyote here, being pretty high as well. And that's the thing, the Bighorn's real strength is that while the talent is also really good, its base, basically unstacked, is already really good. That's why the Bighorn feels so powerful, is because the lower bound of it is also really powerful. So when the talent is basically inactive, it is already pretty powerful. We go into this big pack actually of kind of the same order as we had above with, Strains, Optimist, some of the last Rangers coming in here, mingled in there. Some of the lower weapons with Measured coming in here. And then we also have here the Capacitor, and this is actually if we have Capacitor and we just put Technician on it. So we do lock in our specialization, just go with Technician here for just 1 tier, and kind of where we land. And actually, this is kind of in the middle, and this basically without too many yellow cores, of course. This is literally 1 yellow core on top of on top of our 6 reds. It is actually landing pretty well. The more issue of the Capacitor is, of course, as well, its firing pattern is pretty bad. It jumps around quite a bit. Trying to land longer range shots is not very effective thing to try to do with the Capacitor. That's more what kind of will hurt it. But basically, the second, it used to be if we were 3 yellow cores or above, the Capacitor would be generally, it would beat a lot of weapons around it. Especially, for instance, the Elmo and such. Now, even with so here 1, it's beating things like the Elmo. As long as you have 2 or more, it's kind of becoming the choice to go for. Especially once you go 3 or more, not many weapons will keep up with it just by its base talent of returning a little bit of red damage from yellow cores. That makes it that, yeah, 3 cores or above, Capacitor kind of becomes the go-to. And then, yeah, we have kind of the end parts of Measured in here, ending in between the Strains and the Optimist mid-pack. So that is the reason why Measured is that effective. Like, even the lower weapons with Measured are kind of above some of the weapons with things like flatline or even higher talents than that. So that measured is kind of landing around 11 to 12 to 13%. And also keep in mind that the second you go chest striker, you actually gain more from measured because of the total weapon damage difference between an obliterate striker and that. And yeah, here we have the 54 crit chance Bighorn, still kind of in the middle of a bunch of weapons with talents. Now, of course, the FAMAS and F2000 and stuff. So, for instance, here we have the F2000 with normal Optimist. Not too far off of it, but yeah, it's kind of in the other weapons mid packs. Then we see as well Eagle Bearer and actually Elmo down here. Eagle Bearer and Elmo both are... They just have good mods. They don't have a good damage talent, and that's kind of the thing. A lot of the weapons with damage talents will exceed them. That was always the case, both with the Eagle and the Elmo. The Elmo used to exceed the Eagle Bearer. The Eagle Bearer definitely now exceeds the Elmo. Solo, you can definitely make use of the Eagle Bearer's talent as well as a survivability talent. Elmo as well, of course. Its shock isn't too bad. But now, yeah, the Elmo, of course, also has 70 rounds, Eagle 60, Capacitor has 40, as we're going to introduce the Capacitor here a little bit as well. And this Capacitor actually without even that Technician's bonus there. So if this was like on Gunner or something, this being as high as it is kind of feels off. The biggest reason for that is that the Capacitor actually has a 10% crit chance and 30% crit damage, making it one of the bigger bonuses of mods, like close to the Eagle Bearer's 15 plus 20, basically flipping that 5 crit chance less, 10 crit damage more, right? So it's actually in line with the Eagle Bearer. And they kind of land with that as well. I feel a lot of the exotics have been balanced without really considering their talents or their mods. Their mods have definitely been kind of included in the thinking, especially we see that with the Bighorn and stuff, because yeah, the Bighorn could be much higher, of course, if that was all the way out. But yeah, the exotics that have a damage talent, especially, have a really good, are having a good time. But the Elmo and Eagle Bearer are definitely usable, especially with their larger mags than most other things around them. Elmo as well, still one of the easiest things to shoot, of course. So there is a place for it. But when we kind of compare it to a Bighorn, when we kind of compare it to a Strega, which doesn't have big issues with its handling, where, for instance, a Chameleon kind of does have some issues with its handling. These actually seem pretty anemic and kind of a little bit low. Although still, they are kind of fitting still here because here, for instance, next door to it is an M4 with Optimist. That's kind of the damage output that they have. Now, of course, an M4 with measured is much higher than this then. And then we basically keep going down the list, with usually ending with the ACRs because they are now, very much towards the end of it. And then we have actually the Chameleon as well here, because we end here, with Fast Hands. So Fast Hands is, of course, a sustained talent. It's not going to give anything to the burst. So this is basically, you could also see this as, at least on the burst end, as without a talent. Of note, here we have the Burnout and the Fast Hands FAMAS kind of side by side. They're basically getting actually the same amount of stacks, close to, basically. So they're kind of landing on around the same burst or reload speeds, as we'll see in the sustain as well. With the Burnout actually being a little bit behind if everything goes perfect and you land every shot with the Fast Hands FAMAS. Fast Hands, of course, did take a hit. We'll kind of see that in the sustain talents here, but yeah, the Burnout is definitely a pick, but we're kind of discuss it more so in the sustain parts. One thing of note is, for instance, so a FAMAS with Fast Hands without a damage talent is basically the same as a TKB with Optimus. Now, of course, the TKB, though, on the other hand, has a very good sustain. It is now one of the fastest reloaders. But this is kind of the thing with some of these charts, which kind of really illustrates that some weapons, especially if you're going for a certain setup. For instance, as we will generally be with a burst weapon, when a fast stands or with a FAMAS without a damage challenge can beat a TKB with a damage challenge, generally you're going to go with the FAMAS, especially if we're leaning towards burst DPS. Of course, on sustained DPS is actually the inverse, but we don't. There is no in division. There is no real big places where that will take the forefront. What we do have here as well is the Chameleon actually, without any talents active, is now kind of in the middle of these fast stands weapons. Because yeah, the leg, of course, is just the reload speed, so that's just the sustain talent, not feeding into this burst comparison here. The Chameleon used to be much lower when everything was inactive, way below, like 10% below the lowest one. And that was kind of this balancing factor, right? The talent would come in and kind of really carry it. Now, though, it's basically an untalented weapon when the talent isn't active, and that seems a little bit too high for it. It should actually be basically straddling the line, right? It should be basically way below the high ends, with the high ends in the middle, and then when it's really active, it should be way above it. This is kind of the reason that I say that the balancing, especially of the exotics, is not the biggest fan of. Although of the high ends, I am actually a really big fan of how they balanced it there. We also have here the Strega at 0 stacks, kind of being next to one of the worst bursters. But then, of course, this is mostly due because it has the same stats as the Fama, or as the Fall, the base weapon of it. But that can have 15 crit chance on it. This Strega only has 5 crit chance, 5 crit damage. That's really what's keeping it back down here. But yeah, as we saw, once it even gets 1 stack, it's kind of good. So Strega definitely one of the general picks as well. Let's go to the sustain side, where we'll go a little bit shorter, but we'll look through that as well. Yeah, that was a lot of doggy. How long did that go? Okay, that went pretty long. How long is all this together already? 49 minutes. Kind of like thinking, do I want to maybe take a redo? Thing is, though, I could, like, in a retake, cut a bunch of stuff out, but that doesn't make it better, per se. Let's do the sustain one a little bit shorter, and then basically, like the other one, I'm gonna go through the stash and just go one final thoughts, basically, on weapons. Yeah. Let's get going here as well. And yeah, let's move on to the sustain end of things. Same thing here. We're not taking the sustain at the top weapon. We're kind of, again, starting with the sadists, just to not crunch the numbers, the percentage numbers lower than this, because it would kind of like squeeze them all together. Mostly because, again, we kind of see that especially something like the Chameleon with everything active will out-sustain most other things, because also it has that reload part of the talent, which really pushes its sustained DPS up high when everything is active. But again, of course, when everything is active, this is not per se feasible always. Of note, actually, when we kind of look at the Chameleon, the body adds more to the sustain than actually the legs does, because the legs is all the way down here. The leg is a reload speed part. That does help the reload a lot, but not as much as just pumping in damage into the mix. That's why the body active version here is actually much higher on sustain. We have the Strega again at a bunch of stacks. And again, this kind of, if a weapon is really good on both burst and sustain, that is a really good sign of it being an outlier. Now again, the Strega, of course, 2-3 stacks is kind of where you need to live with it. That's not always available. So yeah, you need to kind of keep that in mind. We see actually kind of the inverse list. We kind of already had that with the burst and sustain tables, is when we go from the burst one to the sustain one, it's almost a flip. It's basically the weapons that are high on burst are low on sustain, and inversely as well. We see that here as well with the TKBs and the AKMs and such being pretty high going into the carbines. Here though, we kind of, the carbine especially, that faster reload of it, this makes it somewhat viable, because in the other list, of course, it was pretty far down in the list, but still kind of in that mid pack. But then on the sustain, it's actually a little bit higher. These AKMs and the TKBs, they're so low on burst that, yeah, a Carbine 7 would basically just on stats alone beat them. But on top of that, a Carbine 7 is so much more stable and so much more accurate than those weapons. That, yeah, the TKB and the AKM, I would generally, if you're kind of leaning towards sustain, the Carbine 7 is kind of the way to go. The fall as well is pretty up high, and this is kind of the reason why the fall is now, I would definitely say, a general pick. You do give up 10 rounds. You give up basically in the damage per mag category, but not that big of a loss. What we see here as well, actually, is some of the weapons with killer active being in the middle of some of the weapons with sadist. Sadist being 30%, of course, all round. This killer... so some of these weapons, their sustain is so high that basically their killer version is beating some of the other weapons with sadist version, because the spread actually in sustain is quite a bit bigger between the ARs. We're gonna as well see here again Strega with 2 stacks, and yeah, we already saw how on burst DPS the Strega at 2 stacks being pretty high. This is the reason why the Strega, I definitely, as a general pick, especially if you're solo, is definitely a go-to. Same, for instance, for having weapons with killer, but I would more so pick maybe, yeah, again, a Carbine 7, which will be likely somewhat higher up here with killer active. Oh, it's all the way down there. Let's scroll down a little bit. But yeah, maybe a Carbine 7 if you're kind of leaning towards the sustain end. We do have, of course, fast hands used to be the top talent usually in this category. It would add a little bit more than it does now. It went from 4 per stack to 3 reload speed per stack. Weapons like this will generally land on like 30 stacks. So you have like 90 reload speed. The fast hands on this TKB is the top fast hands there. And yeah, the fast hands are no longer kind of at the top of this list. Although, of course, in the past, the list also didn't include things like sadist and stuff. So the fast hands are definitely still viable. You definitely feel the difference. Part of that is as well, like on the weapons like a FAMAS or such, the reload has been increased, so you feel it on that end, and then the effectiveness of fast hands has been decreased, so you feel kind of together. But especially still on the weapons that have pretty high reload, I will kind of still stick with fast hands. The only places I will give that up is if I'm, for instance, solo with maybe killer active or even in group settings, if I really need some more damage, to go with measured. But what we do see is that, yeah, fast hands overall still adds more than we get. Well, killer would basically beat it on sustain even, but we don't see any measured above fast hands. The first measured in this list is, I think, yeah, this TKB. So they are still overall, you're better off with fast hands for sustain talents, but measured is also so high up that, yeah, like most of the times, at least in the sustain charts, it used to be fast hands would be it would be quite a jump on the sustain end. between a weapon with measured or a weapon with a damage talent and fast hands, that has become a lot smaller. So that difference has been eaten into quite a bit. And yeah, we kind of see FAMAS, for instance, which was one of the best sustained or best bursters, is one of the worst sustainers just because of its reload speed. So it's worst. It's especially on the sustain, for instance, a sadist is losing here to a killer, for instance. That does make quite a difference. That's why, for instance, as well, with a FAMAS, I do still enjoy having fast hands because that reload is now made so much worse than it used to be. We also see actually the Bighorn, the 54 and the 48 crit chance editions, both being quite high up in this list. Again, kind of being really high on sustain and pretty good on burst. That is generally what makes good weapons. And we see that here again. The Bighorn is definitely one of the picks for general use, and you can get these 25 stacks pretty consistently. If we go and find actually its 0 stack variants, they are a lot lower on the sustain. The gap is much bigger in sustain than it is in burst for them. And the reason for that is that this is a 42 round mag. It does reload pretty fast, and the handling of the Bighorn has also been made much better, by the way. If you haven't tried out the Bighorn, its handling, it got 10 accuracy, 10 crit chance more. It also got 10 headshot damage more on the mods. That does help it quite a bit. But yeah, the Bighorn is definitely one of the top picks in this list. We see the Elmo, especially with its 70 round mag, and even though it's got a little bit reduced weapon handling mod now, it still has a decent reload, and yeah, that shows on the sustain end. This is kind of the reason as well why the Elmo can kind of compete, and also kind of compete as well against what will basically be its its nemesis kind of. But they're flipping here, the Eagle Bearer and the Elmo. The Eagle Bearer is also pretty high up in here with a 60 round magazine with a decent reload. That's why both of these can still be picks, especially if you're kind of making use of their talents. Especially Eagle Bearer solo, you can kind of make it work. And then yeah, we're kind of gonna lead into the higher the damage increase from a talent would be in the same way for burst. Kind of that's gonna affect the sustain just as much, basically. So we kind of see the same list again. With measured and well, first starting with sadists, then going into killers, then going to measured, but then the fast hands here, of course, are rising quite a bit. The Strega here with 1 stack and with 0 stacks are kind of towards the lower parts of the list, with the Strega and the Chameleon actually here on sustain being towards the end of the list against special weapons with Optimist. For the Strega, that's mostly down to that 40 round mag, kind of eating into it. And of course, no damage talent or such, kind of picking it up a little. The Chameleon is the same. When it's inactive, it is pretty bad, but it is now so much easier to activate it as well that you can get 60 body shots in and you kind of already have a bonus. We see things that, like Shield Splinter and stuff being pretty low on this list, and that's the reason as well why generally now, if you're going for that damage talent, the general use damage talent, I wouldn't go Optimist, I wouldn't go Strain, I would basically go Measured. Even in gameplay, you can kind of feel that difference as well. It feels a lot faster to get through enemies. Shield Splinter, I wouldn't anymore. Even the perfect version is not performing well. We saw it already in Burst and here in Sustain as well, kind of not performing to a big degree. Capacitor plus Technician as well, kind of being a little bit lower here. So on the Sustain end, we see it because it was in the middle of the Eagle and the Elmo, of course, in the past. Here it is way below them. And that's kind of also kind of eats into the capacitor a little bit because with its handling issues on top, it definitely kind of feels like this. We also see actually, so Burnout being pretty low here. Same with the fast hands with FAMAS. Both of those are, of course, some of the base weapon is worse at sustain. These talents kind of do raise them decently high up in there, because on the sustain end, they're versus damage talents here on some of the better sustainers, like the TKB up there. And yeah, Fast Hands theoretically still beats Burnout. Burnout, though, does have the benefit of not requiring actually hits and such. So if you miss a few shots, it's not as big of a loss. The downside to me with Burnout is you need to reach the end of the magazine. I quite often don't. I quite often try to... I often hit reload basically after every few kills. The second I have a kind of like clear air around me, I'm going to hit that reload button. And of course, this is not self-refreshing. That's why, because this is as well then weapon handlings, which helps, the accuracy and the stability of a weapon, where Fast Hands does not. It's just a reload. So there's definitely a case to be made for the Burnout, but I'm not going to make that case. I'll leave that to others. I still like my Fast Hands quite a bit. But yeah, basically not too many surprises on the sustain end. The weapons that are definitely the standouts are the exotics, as we kind of saw again here. And to me, yeah, the exotics are definitely kind of overperforming, but the high ends, definitely with good picks for talents, can be made to kind of reach up and be pretty consistent. Yeah, let's round this out. I'm going to actually go, as we did with the Project Resolve one, we're going to go to the stash, and we're going to go weapon by weapon, and I'm just going to give my final thoughts, basically. Yeah, let's... how long did that end up being? Oh, it's still... That's fine. I'll have to cut a hole. All right, 13 minutes there. Yeah. Take this.
Hostile control point identified.
Shut up, Isaac. Yeah, let's go back here. I'll say it's SMG in the sky's low. I mean, yes, that we all know. It's not even in the skies, really. It's... I mean, it is using a disguise, but it's not, nobody's hiding the fact that it's a vector, basically. Same, for instance, with its headshot rate and stuff. Because, yeah. This is 70. This is 75 for every other AR. But that doesn't take away of how effective it is now. Because it's definitely no longer as ineffective as, like, especially the crit chance third stat one that, like, was the case for, like, the longest time. Let's make sure actually that I have one of every weapon still in here, because am I missing out? Because I took out Honey Badger, remember? Is that M4 back? Yeah. Cetar is back in here. Okay. And yeah. Let's get going with this segment. Oh, hey, the Depamic. Yeah. And we're at my stash where I have one of every weapon. I go out of my way to have that to make these burst and sustain tables, because one of the best ways to double check is just to have the item in game and kind of look through them. And that's going to be handy here, as well as we're going to go through every weapon. And I'm basically going to give a 2-sentence synopsis on each one, basically. Let's start at the top with the exotics and then just go through all of them. Starting here with the Capacitor, we have a weapon that, especially if you have 2 yellow cores or more, is basically going to be the pick. So even if you're hybridizing a little bit, the Chameleon will become the go-to. That was kind of 3 yellows in previous times. Here, yeah, it's definitely a good pick at 2 or higher, 3 or higher, it's basically the only pick quite quickly, except if you're doing things that some other weapons might exceed even better at. The Chameleon is definitely now a lot better than it used to be, this being 65 body shots instead of the 75, 85, 90. I don't even remember how many body shots it was, but it used to be a lot more body shots, a lot less so, especially as well the legs are less leg shots. That helps it quite a bit to stack up towards the talent a lot faster. Once it has its talent up, it can work really well. And if you're unaware of it, the talent actually resets as if whatever you're doing ends before 45 seconds. So you have a 45 second timer. If, for instance, you're doing territory controls and you finish it in under 45 seconds, it will just fill back up to full, and you will have that full stack again. That makes it that actually, if you're for certain things, it can be really good, especially for instance, as well, certain missions and stuff. It can actually be really good because you can actually have really good uptime on it. On the flip side, on things which have long combat engagements, you will not. Then we have the Eagle, and actually basically the Eagle and the Elmo kind of now are basically brethren. Both of them are reliant on their mods to kind of be their damage increases. Both of them have talents, which are very situational. For the Eagle, getting tenacity, triggering tenacity can be a really handy thing, especially solo. You can use it as damage mitigation. You can even, completely mitigate damage completely. If you do such things with it, it's definitely a good go-to. Same for the Elmo. The Elmo now basically having that, being one of the few LMGs or a few ARs, which is closer to an LMG with 70 rounds. This talent basically makes no difference to that. It's still getting a decent amount from its mods, basically. We saw it being pretty low on the burst table. That was already always the case, but it is a really flat shooter. We should say about the Eagle Bearer and the Chameleon both that they're not as easy to shoot as the Elmo. And that is kind of the thing with Elmo. That's why I think it will still be very popular, just because it is very easy to handle, and that does make quite a difference, especially if you're not giving up too much damage. But you are giving quite a bit of damage, especially against the last two we'll talk about here. The Strega, 2 stacks and up, and you're doing really well. As long as you have this basically at 30% or higher. And especially for the situations where there's a lot of enemies, this will help quite a bit to eat through them really fast. Once you get above 3 stacks and such, it's actually not much is catching up to it, not even some of the better talented weapons. For solo play, either this or having a weapon with killer would be my go-tos. And that makes it, one of the go-tos, I feel, for the upcoming times, especially solo. So it is an on-kill talent. You do need to trigger it consistently to try to have some uptime on it. Same as well. For instance, there's situationally you wouldn't want to pick it if you're going to go do, for instance, the Hunters, where you're fighting one Hunter. The mark does nothing. So you would want to pair this, or at the very least have a different weapon in your inventory for the situations that this is a bad choice. But yeah, there is definitely positions like just doing activities where it is a really good choice, and that's something we do a lot, or missions. Then we have the Bighorn. The Bighorn is definitely one of the top picks. It's not so much off the charts as we saw on the burst compared to, for instance, the Strega at 5 stacks. But what we did see as well, it's very high on sustain. It's very high on burst. It's even the unstacked version is pretty high. All of that together makes it a lot more consistent, and especially as well, it's headshot. Being just, you have to hit headshots to get increased headshot damage, basically. That works well without, for instance, if you were to go, exactly as we said, going for some Hunters or something. Now, of course, that diminishes a little bit if you are doing something that doesn't have a head. If you're shooting at a Marauder, this becomes a lesser choice. That's kind of the thing that I am still kind of glad for most of the weapons that are in certain ways overpowered. They are also somewhat situational, but the Bighorn is the least of those, because even if you're fighting Black Desk and you have a lot of warhands and stuff, they still also have a lot of forces, so you can just shoot through them that way. Let's go to the high ends. I'm gonna do a cut there. And let me see if I missed anything here. Can change the talent of an exotic? No, the exotics are fixed. So you can only change this third stat. You can reconfigure it, and every time that you do, you re-roll it basically. All of the stats kind of reset, so you also lose your optimizations. But you can get a different third stat here. On most weapons, you want detox here, damage to targets out of cover. So you'll see that basically all my weapons have that. But yeah, I can reroll for that. But yeah, no, the mods and the talents are fixed. Like it is what it is. That's kind of their also, you know, because they use that as a balancing factor and stuff as well. Let me put that actually in the folder. I know 6. Yeah, let's get going. And let's start at the top here. The ACR and ACRE, which are variants of each other, generally you would want to pick the ACRE if you were to pick an ACR, but generally I wouldn't recommend picking an ACR anymore. It is pretty low on the list. It definitely isn't competing well on the burst side, and it also isn't the top sustainer even though it is very low on the sustain end, as I'm actually in the background kind of pulling that up. It's the second highest burster, or the second lowest burster. But I would, for instance, a Carbine 7 or something like that is basically higher on it on burst, even though it is lower than it on sustain. It is a much better handling weapon. It is much more accurate than this. And yeah, if you're picking one of the two, though, still, the ACRE does have a little bit better handling. And in the case of the ACRE, it is actually a pretty hefty jump. Then we get to the AKs, starting with the AKM. AKMs, TKBs, black market / military AKMs, all of those, they used to be pretty high up in there on burst and sustain, and then they had their biggest issue was kind of their handling. Their biggest issue is still somewhat their handling, but now they also have issues with especially burst. They are doing okay on sustain. So for instance, the AKM is pretty high on sustain, although of course this is going to lose one mod. This is the -1 mod version. So with the black markets and the militaries will actually exceed that a little bit. As I'm trying to find the military AKM, there we go. Both of those will exceed it actually in burst and sustain because of that 1 mod difference, making the AKM definitely the least to pick out of them. The black market is always the higher. It's a little bit better stability accuracy than it is for the military. The AUG is the standard with just its max size, but that doesn't save it. It is still a pick to shoot. It is. This, more even so than the AKs, is a weapon that jumps around quite a bit. And the second you try to put some stability or accuracy on this, you're eating even more so into its damage. The 62-round magazine can be useful for certain situations, but not really. Not when we also have an Elmo, which has a 70-round magazine, where, for instance, with the reduced ammo direct or modifier that we have this season, that decreases the max size, basically. This would maybe be a decent choice for that, but we have Elmo and even Eagle Bearer that have much better ways of dealing with that. Going to the Carbine 7, the Carbine 7 is definitely the weapon to pick for its reload. It has decent burst, decent sustain. It's kind of a mid-tier on both, and then its reload is definitely its go-to. So especially if you're going for things like flatline, This can also be a choice, as actually we highlighted the fall and we highlighted the M4. The Carbine 7 is also definitely a pickup in there. It is a decent enough handler that, yeah, it's kind of okay. The CTAR is actually pretty competitive now with the FAMAS and with the F2000. It does have much worse reload than it used to have, but it still has its accuracy, especially on handling. On some builds, I'm definitely going to put CTAR alongside of having maybe FAMAS or such, or even as replacement of. And this will be a weapon that can reach out much better than the FAMAS can. Well, the FAMAS is just as accurate, it's not as stable. Although, well, the CTAR is actually a little bit more accurate, definitely in its recoil pattern. Then we have the P416s, both the custom and the military. Both of them are decent. They kind of get lost in the pack. They're kind of decent high B, low A picks. It's kind of next door to the Fall and the M4, and generally that's the downside for this weapon for me for it. This one, its recoil pattern is a lot worse than the Fall and the M4. The Fall then loses 10 rounds against it, of course. The M4 has a much longer reload. Well, not much, but a decently longer reload than it. So this is definitely one you could pick, but to me, it kind of gets lost in the pack against those two. The F2000, as we saw kind of on this list, on a striker, it loses out to the FAMAS and in situations as well, the Fall. It is definitely still a pick, especially, for instance, for high-ends, where that loss of one mod is not the end of the world, and actually it's something that we kind of don't mind. But of course, you have to also keep in mind that nowadays we can also always just flip one crit chance mod to crit damage mod, and we don't lose per se anything. So it's still a decent pick, especially if you liked it before. It no longer has that 60 round mag or something to offset it. It is also now just 850 base, although of course we're seeing it on striker here, so it's 978. But yeah, it is still a decent pick. It has also still decent optimal. Then we get to the Falls. The Falls are actually pretty good picks. If you're picking between the three, the Para variant, which is also craftable, is actually the overall the highest stability, and that also carries over to the game. These bars do actually somewhat carry over into the game. The thing that this doesn't show is the recoil pattern, especially, which kind of offsets some weapons sometimes. Which is, for instance, true here for the Big Fall. The Big Fall has a little bit of a different recoil pattern, making it a little bit more jumpy. But yeah, both the Fall SA58 and the SA58 Para, both are generally good picks, and the Para is technically the best pick if you're going for that. And this one is also craftable, so actually makes it one of the easier ones to go for, especially if you're willing to splurge some watch points on it. And yeah, the Falls are really good looking now. I was never a fan of them in the past. You also give up this 10 rounds, of course, but now that doesn't come as at big of a cost. Then we get to the FAMAS, as the FAMAS is still the Burst King. It is no longer the Burst King and then also pretty high up in sustain. It is now pretty low in sustain. Even though it got even a little bit of a bump into its base damage, its reload got turned into something much worse, and that kind of eats into its sustain. But overall, still to me, the top pick. As well, because its handling is decent, its accuracy is really good, so it lands decently well in the center when you keep the marker on the enemy, and the downside of it is that it does pull up pretty hard, so you need to compensate for that. But for instance, on strikers, that's not that big of an issue. On a build that doesn't have weapon handling, yeah, that becomes a little bit more of an issue. Then we have the G36s, the G36C enhanced, and also the military. All three are kind of now, I feel, yeah, kind of lost in the pack. I would generally pick an M4, which is actually higher than it on burst, a little bit, tiny bit lower than it on sustain. I would pick an M4 over this, over all three of these. And yeah, in the past, this used to be, together with the ACRE, the weapons you would go for long rail. That is now going to be for instance, the Fall and the M4 and the Carbine 7. Together with the Carbine 7 as well, we have the Honey Badger. The Honey Badger actually in the final lists does lose, does win against the Carbine 7. So yeah, generally you could actually pick this over a Carbine 7. Neither can be crafted, and yeah, they do take some time to sometimes get. But actually, yeah, that I should actually say that the Carbine 7 is a tiny bit worse than this, even with when you're compensating for that lost crit chance. Then yeah, we have a few of the militaries and such that we have a few names here that we've already discussed. The Mark 16s, the SOCOM, the Tactical, and the Mark 16s, all three are now kind of so bad in their burst that I wouldn't generally pick them anymore. If you're going for that kind of, because I would use these quite often in the past as a weapon for ammo conservation, same for instance with an ACRE or such, that distinction will now go to the Fall. So I will generally have on most of my characters a Fall just for the higher hit per damage, or damage per shot, basically leading to overall better damage per mag, although that's not true for in this case, but more so damage per, ammo capacity. Meaning that you can kill more with the ammo that you have, like the not just the magazine, but the entire pool of ammo that you have. Making so that you need ammo less, because that can sometimes become an issue, especially for those that run a Vector or a FAMAS or such, you know, right? We have the PDR. The PDR definitely gets kind of lost in the pack. Its handling is also pretty bad, especially its accuracy. It jumps around quite a bit. It's basically the capacitor's issue as well that is based off of it. That makes it that this, generally not a pick. The M4 is definitely a pick. It is a pretty accurate weapon. It is pretty stable. It does have a long rail for things like flatline, making it together with the Fall basically the weapon to go for some flatline builds and stuff. But also by itself, just for its accuracy and such, even though it is a little bit lower than, for instance, something like a P416 or a CTAR or such. For instance, the CTAR is kind of in the same kind of region, although this has a little bit better reload than the CTAR. And actually, I would say a little bit better handling even as well. The SIG is kind of definitely lost in the pack. It is lower than a bunch of weapons around it on burst, and not really competing on them with sustain. It also does not have a long rail, which is the one thing that you would maybe pick a second tier weapon kind of for, just for flatlines and such. It doesn't have that, so it kind of does not matter basically. And we end up with the TKB. The TKB is the highest sustainer on the list. The AKM, of course, with the -1 mod kind of beats this, but if we actually take it onto a build, we see that the TKB is the best sustainer. And if this was a different game where we would maybe shoot a Colossus for like 8 minutes or something, we might go with that, but yeah, not in the division where we end fights pretty quickly. So yeah, we've kind of gone through all of the weapons there. The standouts are definitely the exotics. We'll kind of see that again and again and again as we go through multiple of these lists, because as well, the next list or the next one on the docket is SMGs, and that list is also already done. It is in the folder that I'll link to down below, of course. You can already go and have a look, but yeah, keep in mind to look at it with a sense as well of like how active will something be and what the uptime of something will be. But yeah, we'll get to that in the future. For now, this was the full AR list, and I hope you found it informative. And for this long of a video, at least maybe learned a thing or two. As for myself as well, I learned a lot making the list and kind of seeing what the landscape of it is now, and kind of getting my bearings on the new listings. And yeah, we'll in the future go into the SMG one as we kind of talked about, and that'll be actually following this up pretty quickly. So yeah, I hope you join me for those. If you did like the video as well, if you are willing to do any and all of the algorithm things down below, that is always appreciated. And I hope to catch you in the future. And as always, have a good night. I don't know, just generally I would maybe separate the outro out into something else, but yeah. So let's see. So 122, but I had like a minute that I need to cut out where I went into a coughing fit, and I had like a minute that I forgot to stop recording. So so let's say 1 hour 20, which I wish every time we do one of those, it's just like, I wish I could do it shorter, but the thing is also like, I want to say all the things I want to say. I don't feel I lingered for way too long. Yeah. Let me catch up here as I was gonna in my own world. Let's yeah, for those wondering, that sign off there, that was for if you missed the pinned message that I'm now removing. It's recording the AR comparison video, or the AR, yeah, the AR unbuild comparison video. So that was for that. Yeah, let me catch up here as well. Hey, Mamba. What's wrong? It's my ding ding dong. Here before, if yes, did you? I've like messed around a few times with rigor. The last time was when it was when you could like keep retriggering
Hostile control point nearby.
explosive, the explosive trap. For some reason, I couldn't get to the word trap there. The cheese for in the DZ messed around a little bit with that. Rigor is pretty bad, stat wise and such. Although actually we should revisit it, because now that Empress is 5 less and stuff. Wait, no, that one. Oh no, it's not 5 anymore, right? Well, it was 2. But yeah, the skill efficiency being 2 less there. Wait, that one did. So wait, what did Wyvern become in the end? Did that go to 5% in the end? Because the initial BTS1 one was 5%, right? Because actually, I thought Empress went to 5% as well on the 3rd. Then they miss it, or actually, well, we can make a closet. Oh, it's on the top as well. Oh no, this went to 8 as well. Okay. Yeah, nah. The thing with the rigor as well is, that was also my conclusion, kind of when it came out, was it's a gear set that doesn't really have the skills to make make anything really happen, because really the only 2 skills that you could kind of make work with it was the flame the flame turret and the traps, either shrapnel or shock or stuff like that, because a lot of the other deployed skills and stuff just didn't align well with it. So you could do the other turrets and stuff, but then you could get more damage out of just the high-end set. Much more damage out of just the high-end set than the rigor set. So just, yeah. Like, cooldowns of things is not a big issue, is the thing. Like, if cooldowns were like minutes, like if a turret cooldown was like a minute, then something like rigor could make sense. when the cooldown of a turret, even on a build that like has barely any skill haste, like this, and this has no skill haste on this, but yeah, just from you know the brand bonuses, this turret is coming back in 19 seconds or 18 seconds, and the drone's coming back in 19. So, and that's the turret and the drone are really the kills to go for. So you could do maybe like a sniper turret with it, but even then, like a sniper turret isn't that good. So, yeah. So actually, yeah, we recorded that video. You know what? I'm gonna go do which one is Grand Washington? Let's actually see. Second Station Hall sweep. That was the weekly. Bank, DCD, whatever stronghold. Oh wait, is DCD not overlapping with this? Oh yeah, this. Okay. Oh, actually, this is all overlapping. So Constitution Hall, nice. And then Downtown West and White House. Yeah, not the worst target. Yeah, let's go do a weekly. I don't know if anybody is interested in a weekly as well. As I'm gonna make sure that I have my thingies active. But if anybody is interested in a weekly, let me know and I can join on up. Actually, I would rename this. Sure, this is a tree, right? Okay. Oh, yeah, her 10 is not set up yet. Okay. That's fine. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with the bestie build for a little bit. You know what? I'm going to go capture a control point here for the daily. Yeah, start with that and then... Let's go with that one. The pestilence of the best. I've run this build before. Actually, yeah, that wanna. Yeah, I mean, I would just take only fog of war. That's not the 25%. We'll do it on the missions. I'll run or when I go to attack tank in a little bit.
We did it.
We showed them all right.
But then, if anybody is interested, let me know, and then we can get you in here. Or if you have me on your list, you can already join it. Need to find an angle. Well, actually, yeah, the control point is too far away. Don't get in range. Nice of that guy to come into close range for me. And hey there, V. Only class play, yeah. Yeah, sadly, Division is from a time where crossplay was not as common as we would want it to be. One thing I did do yesterday, actually, let's see if this snitches here. Is go get Danny and all the accounts.
Another agent is now in your
here.
group.
Actually, not just to help with his system as well. We'll jump into Discord. Also helps communicating. Make communicating easier. I just saw what Toasty posted to my message yesterday. With a thing on the... Can I do this? Oh, okay. Wait, what? What is it?
Hello there.
Hey, Bobby. I just saw what Toasty posted, but yeah. He went, okay, Grandpa.
Yeah.
Wait, what does it go to a site? Oh, okay. Oh, it's a, that's how yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, pretty good.
I made some weird build that we were thinking about with Rice and Stellar.
Yeah. Weapon damage in it.
I just
Oh, it's just for
don't
the
have
optimal. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's quite. Oh, I went to the wrong spot there. Wait, what did I do? Did I? Okay. Oh. Deleted the wrong thing there. There we go. I couldn't find my scene to go back to. Oh yeah, let's murder these. So I should start with the guys on the left, because
yeah.
maybe we can deal with them without aggroing everything, but unlikely.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
I grabbed the one guy on the left.
Oh, that's fine. As long as we don't have like all of them. My bestie was gonna transfer to them anyway.
Serious trauma detected.
Some of these have repeatal without showing it.
Yeah, I'm in combat. I can activate the modifiers, so I'm gonna have to do that without.
That guy also had requital.
I wanted to use the burst pistol 93R, but wasn't like to get it at all.
Actually, I'm just dealing with some side guys there.
Heavily armored hostile detected.
I was kind of also considering messing about with optimal here and there with how much time we're spending outside of optimal nowadays. Because technically, if we have like,
Assistance needed.
if we're actually in optimal, we could do, double damage versus the half that would do. But then by the teeth, like, just makes it insane amounts. What's the 2-piece on the Legatus, actually? I don't even remember.
70% optimal range.
Oh, that's up to... Oh, yeah, first is swap speed here.
And the mask has 50%.
Yeah.
Tech 50 is 154 optimal range. I can actually shoot at 100 meters.
If only hit rank also.
But yesterday I was using this, just messing around with it after I made it, and I had the rogues. They were outside my render range, so I was just shooting invisible enemies at that point.
Detecting additional hostile contacts.
But I was still doing damage.
This one's all on over there.
Heavily armored hostile detected.
2.6 for pesty tick. I'll take that.
6 million a body shot. Not bad.
Back to the plague. Oh, sure, I'll catch up here. So crossplay if they want it, or is it the potential? They've said that they will likely never. The thing you have to keep in mind with that as well is
Friendly control
they're
point
currently
nearby.
using like the systems provided by Microsoft and PlayStation for handling like names and stuff on there.
Supply room access.
Trying to first implement like something for that on their ends, because if you do crossplay, everything needs to be on your end. And yeah, that's a dangerous thing to do, because also that would mean touching basically everybody's save. Because bringing the databases together,
I hope nothing comes
if something goes wrong, that could be like truly catastrophic. And also just, yeah, the amount of engineering time that would need. That basically as well said as much, so just it's not really going to be in their plans.
Just gonna wait for it in Division 3.
No, basically any like newer game that's gonna come out. Back when Division came out as well, it wasn't as normal. It has enough for both
yeah.
of us.
Oh yeah, I forgot we need to
You really saved us
resupply.
with these supplies.
Yeah, let's actually finish the daily first. We'll need one more activity.
You ordered DCD?
No, by the way, just one more activity in DCD, but let's just do the
Yeah,
activity
okay.
first.
We can do this. That's quick, right? Target practice.
Yeah. Well, let's just go in this territory. The annoying thing is that we're likely gonna pull that public as well. It's usually how that works. Pushing as before. This is even
Friendly combatants detected.
Do I miss out on anything if I return and decide not to use these new? The new modifiers? No. The modifier system is set up that if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. They are tied into the journey and stuff, but the rewards of the journey are mostly there's one cosmetic, a few exotic items, and mostly modifiers for the system itself. So. But also the modifier system, I would recommend just giving it at least a chance and seeing if you'll like. Maybe first unlock a bunch of the passives, just so you have some of the modifiers to just plug in, basically.
Access key detected.
To avoid people. So currently the matchmaking, they didn't implement it well. Their initial intention, like even with the live stream and stuff, was just to have it be separate, but it isn't. So if one person has it on, everybody has it on. So matchmaking is kind of like, yeah, definitely kind of tainted by that. But yeah, let's go to DCD. And then lead into the other weekly parts.
I was in Stalker's stream yesterday and he rated Tickle. He was in the China version of the Division. So I spent some time there and some things look interesting. The crit damage has the how is it called? When you get too much of it, you just start getting lower numbers, or how is it?
Rollover?
No.
So it's just
diminishing returns. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay. I mean, that's
Grid
yeah.
has diminishing returns, right? Or
Everything above that goes is additive from multiple sources. Yeah.
because they were like
right.
having 500 crit damage on the build, so I was thinking if that's a bit too much, if it wouldn't be like better.
I mean,
go
the
for
thing is,
something else.
the thing is, yeah, like diminishing returns only matter if there's opportunity cost. Like if you can pick something up. I get the feeling they don't get to pick for that many other. Like basically all of their stats can go really way too high.
Yeah, they have Coyote. They have Coyote is the same as ours, but they don't have mods on gear, so they have extra attribute. So they have 4 attributes in total on a.
Yeah, they have that different
someone's at the door.
mods.
Yeah.
Okay, chip here.
Active terminal detected.
See if you can hook Isaac into that terminal and get us some intel.
I'm back.
So that random. I mean, it's not at random. There's the requital. There's a reflect modifier. Sometimes the marker doesn't show up and stuff, but yeah, it's not. That's different than ran. But keep in mind as well. So in countdown, if someone has it on, it's currently, if nobody turns it on or off while in countdown, it doesn't change their mods and stuff. Nobody. Well, the other issue is also nobody deltas. No enemy will have
DCD data stream
the
enabled.
enemy or the enemy modifiers. So
Close to you.
you get basically all of the benefits without the downside, except if somebody deltas or if somebody
Vital signs critical.
if somebody deltas or if somebody like
Looks like the
turns
best way
it
to
on
take the
or
lab
off.
offline is the decontamination protocol.
That's just a fancy way of
What
saying
generally ends up happening
everything
is
gets
it's
sterilized.
basically off.
It's not
Sometimes, of
detecting
course,
the
somebody
gas
crashes
leaders
like
in
with
decom
extraction, and then
It
just
must
during
have disabled the line.
extraction there
Get the
is
main
special.
fuel line in the basement. That
There's
should get it
the
flowing again.
enemy directives.
Open the fuel line. That should give the decon protocol enough gas to run.
And also, yeah, so the reflect is that one, and you just do this. You just get close enough, you just move with the lights. Either close or far.
Serious trauma detected.
You just let, for instance, Pesty kill them. Should I actually set up arrows far of these?
What did I do to get you so pissed? Oh.
Coming for you! They don't get us. I have the ammo!
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Let this thing then blow up.
The decontamination protocol can be initiated from a panel in the lab above you. Stay put
But also
when you
they've
pull
said
the
they're
trigger and you
aware
should
of
be
the
safe.
issue of
Top floor. You
like
can't
one
miss
person
it.
can.
It's right
They're
in the
gonna
middle of the lab.
hopefully change it to just the leader decides. Which will actually be annoying for Countdown because most leaders will. Some people will bet off. And then that makes it a lot harder.
Virus samples detected.
Yeah. There's a lot of people just going, I like to have fun. Well, they're like,
I guess
modifiers
you
are.
call that clean.
Just because you don't like them doesn't mean that they're not fun.
Let me have it.
Because actually, I like them. It forces you to play differently. So, for instance, the flow of missions, you just don't do the exact same thing as you always did because
You should be able to access
you're gonna
the
have
board
enemies
at
with
the
requital.
far
And
end
you
of
need
the
to deal
West
with them
Wing
differently. You
construction
will
site.
have enemies with
They haven't been disposing of the
Stellite, and it
corpses
can actually be
properly,
handy
we
to
could
be in
have
the
another
right range
outbreak
for
on our
it and
hands.
stuff like that. But also, yeah, if you don't like the modifiers, you can turn it off. For now, you can't really avoid it in terms of matchmaking and such. If you're matchmaking, you basically have to expect them on. You got to remember as well, they're a humongous boost in damage and will actually make things easier, not harder.
Cookie anyway.
Especially once you have a bunch of the modifiers.
The outcasts are using blood from an asymptomatic
You can
carrier.
extract so much
Someone
damage
is
from the
infected but doesn't
system
show
that
symptoms. If I'm right, they're weaponizing green poison
It's easier
and turning it
with
loose
them
on the
without.
city. Destroy anything that might be contaminated.
But yeah, for now you can. I would recommend then just waiting for that fix to go and jump in there. If
I'm
you
still
really-
thinking how that one person did it. They had 15% weapon damage on the Picaros after the nerf, and it looked like it was optimized, but you can't optimize weapon damage as an attribute.
Shenanigans. Or maybe it was available or something for.
Yeah, maybe they fixed it like right away or something.
Yeah.
Break the bats.
Vital signs critical.
Let's see the acquittal there.
Take note.
Emmeline's the head of the outcasts.
Saved by
If
the
she's an
testing.
asymptomatic carrier, they've got an endless supply of the virus to play with.
Agent, your route out is going to take you into the DCD research library.
Hey, while you're in there, do me a favor. Recover everything you can on broad-spectrum antivirals.
The thing is, in Countdown, most of the time, so yeah, again, if nobody turns it on or off in there, or doesn't change their modifiers, or nobody deltas, mostly more the delta one, there will not be any enemy modifiers. So you basically have all the benefits without any of the downside. I have no idea why anybody would be against it in the current version of Countdown.
Yeah, when I matchmake for Countdown, I'm just going in with the modifiers because I know nobody's gonna change it in the middle of the run.
Yeah. And even the few times you get like a delta as well, like these things are not
But there
hard to
was
handle.
one weird thing, it's just some players doing. It was the first Countdown that Prime ran, and just
Data transfer initiated.
5 people left, just right at the start.
I mean, it might have just been server instability or something early on.
This is it!
And there were like some was saying in the chat that nobody's going for the hunters. He doesn't have like nerves for that, and he doesn't want to run. Just left.
Oh, okay, just idiots. Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
did especially as well back then. Had a bunch of people just leaving after 2.
Yeah. That's another stupid thing that they did. Just make 2 objectives of Countdown. not expecting like, yeah, players are gonna stay for the ending, right?
I mean, most players will. It's just the select few that. Because also the thing is, if you're already 2 activities into a counter, you might as well finish and get the
Yeah.
rewards. Like you've done most of it already.
You just need the primary objective and extraction.
Yeah.
And you get
And
way more
also,
loot
like
from the
extraction is
You clear to get out of there.
a lot of
The
loot
lab
and
samples
also
destroyed. I don't
requisition.
think the outcasts are going to be able to do much else from
And
here.
I grab
Thanks for getting me that data to play with.
Hostiles are moving to your position. Suggest an egress through the courtyard.
Here they come. Be careful.
We have the same idea.
Guess all of us have to stand guard to.
I can't run over this. Okay.
Oh, you're gonna go for the true one tap. Which are right there.
Oh, he's recruitable. Okay. But I'm close range. I guess not.
I'm gonna take you apart.
An agent needs assistance.
He has recruited, but it doesn't show for me.
Yeah.
No damn what?
What's on? For Heartbreak, if I don't have Kingbreaker, what rifle can I use for that? Overall, the FAL and the M4 are decent alternate picks. Well, basically anything, any AR with a long rail will do for now, if you don't have the Kingbreaker. The FAL and M4 can be replacements as well. Oh, actually, I'm putting that one weapon there. But if you, yeah, basically any AR with long rail will do. Yeah, so what was the other parts? Bank, a stronghold, and then activities in a bunch of places. Let's go do bank. That's the fixed one anyway.
I was dream crafting
Mm-hmm.
with the Lexington. And I was like, I don't know what were the percentages on the rate of fire on the harvest, but I know it was 20% and 10%
Mm-hmm.
rate of fire, something like that. So
It
if they do
was
the
12
same,
or was 20 and 18, and then now it's 10 and 9. So the final
yeah. So
number
if
is
they
10.
do like the similar thing with harvest, but the other way around, increase fire rate, reduce base.
Mm-hmm.
They would, if they
I
didn't
don't
like
know.
hit it too hard on the base, it would be a little bit better than M4. But it's just dreaming.
Yeah. Well, we'll know what it's gonna be. Yeah, I'll just take this though. It's considering like special ammo there, but
Vault to recover the
he's the
item
only
the
one to
hyena
be
stole from Air
disoriented.
Force One. Our hyena insider says
just
whoever's
do that.
posted in the old
Hey,
CEO's
oops, all
office will have a key card that should give you access to the vault.
Staying all the way back here. I'll let you open. Hey, exit. A sugar punch. So let me catch up on this side as well. And either I can. Hold on. A little bit late. He's fishing for whales, not whoever gets the idea to introduce small and medium. I mean, keep in mind that the Chinese version is basically has nothing to do with the Western version. Like it's not sharing development and stuff. That's kind of how, if you want to have your game in China, that's kind of how you have to do it. You have to kind of just give licenses and stuff to a Chinese developer, and they're supposed to have like basically full creative control and stuff. So.
And
But-
they like restricted by the law that they can't make it pay to play. It needs to be free to play.
Okay. Oh, wasn't didn't know that. But yeah, the thing is as well, the monetization of Division, like one of the reasons I'm like I actually play Division is the monetization is definitely not horrendous compared to a lot of other games. Some kind of in the same space, even like a Genshin or something. Because even stuff like the season pass in Division is completely unnecessary. Like, plenty of players
Check up for the key card.
that are like, you know, completely endgame and stuff, and just
Looks like that key card is the one we
never
were looking
get
for.
the season passes. Like it's just cosmetics. Whereas in a lot of other games, for instance, in a lot of other games, to be competitive, you basically have to
Wonder what that unlocks.
have it, kind of.
Keep an eye out.
Our modifier is here to stay, so every season will have a different main modifier with like its own actives and passives and stuff like that. But yeah, that is the intent. Although curious to see actually how people will handle, because they specifically said like they've picked this one because this is kind of like the easiest, and people are already apparently struggling with just, you know, seeing that icon on enemies and then just not doing this. Just get in short range, murder them in the range required. Like if somebody has requital like this, you just don't shoot them unless you are in the right way. Which I feel is such a basic thing that like if people are struggling with this, although people struggled with like even like easy global events and stuff. Like the amount of people that I've seen play Hollywood as just a damage reduction instead of like the instant clear that it is. Like Hollywood can be the fastest way through for farming and stuff. But yeah, some people just ran it as if it's just I just do half damage now. That's my life.
Authentication successful. Access granted. Hostile radio intercepted.
The alarm!
I mean, the plan is different ones for each season to have a different. It's like the plan as they
Nice and cozy upstairs.
laid it out. So.
Holy shit. They pulled the president out of the wreckage. Agent, you've got a new assignment. Find out where the president is being held and get him back. Sync Isaac with the bank's security system. There should be a data center near the vault.
And listening a while ago, do you still play it? The blast or so should do it. No majority. Play. No, I did see there was a new season, but I actually didn't like kind of mess around with it at all. Overall, Destiny is not my game. Like I knew that going into it. It was definitely a reminder of that. Too many like design choices that I'm not on board for.
I can do this!
wouldn't say AK-47 is good for flatline. Like Fall and M4 and Carbine 7 are really the picks there. But yeah, basically anything with a long rail. Because you also got to remember that the AKM specifically does not have a long rail. It's the military and the the black market. Do they though?
Search query finished. Subject located.
It's President Ellis.
Because keep in mind, if they
We're on
wanted
a
to do
helicopter
the
on
same
standby to
monetization
extract
as
them.
everybody else, like you wouldn't put
Lockdown procedure
3 times XP on
initiated.
the thing. You would
That
put
doesn't
3
sound
times
good.
XP. You would do, you know, World of Tanks
Isaac,
and then like
give away
work
out
on
of the
there.
vault.
You buy
Searching
premium,
way out of
double
the
XP.
vault. 0 matches.
Double season.
Piece of
Like
shit
that's how you
wristwatch.
monetize like that.
Okay,
It's not
let me
like that
see.
they don't know.
Punch through the west wall. There's a maintenance tunnel running
It's that they
alongside
don't
the
do
position.
that.
It's a long shot, but it's the only one we got. Isaac, plot a path to the president's location.
Same for like with boosters
Highlighting
and
most
stuff. Like
expedient
it's not
route.
that they likely don't
Son of
know.
a
It's just
bitch, it
they're
actually
choosing
worked.
not to.
Thanks,
Some games
Isaac.
choose not to. Honestly, over the majority of it, I'm like fine with how Ubisoft monetizes stuff, which is kind of also, you know, the reason that they are actually that in requests to be taken over, because a lot of people see that kind of stuff and go like, hey, we could make a ton of money here, but they also lose like all of their player base. Oh well, got that. We got toilet sheets.
You forgot the best loot ever. And yeah, I got the Circle of Glass that reminded me that they have, like, we have contractors, but they have like a Sokolov version of that. So kind of a Sokolov as contractors.
Okay. Does that have that's the DTA stat or?
Yep.
Oh.
Serious trauma detected.
Give him an earpiece and get him on comms.
Let's see if I got the quick one.
Let's speed him up. I think if he starts sprinting right away, you get the early interaction, but when he's just like slowly running, you need to wait for him to run all the way up top.
I'm sure I would try that, because he does run when you like grenade him, so
Yeah,
with one person grenades it.
but I think
helps.
he needs to run like by himself for it to work, but I don't know.
Needed.
We see you. You're clear to attach. Go, go, go!
Hostile radio intercepted.
Well, that's a load of shit. Kill every last one of those fuckers. I want them dead. Roach, our gear supply will dry the fuck up if word gets back to the rest of the council that we lost the president. We'll get him, ma'am. Fuckers aren't going anywhere but down.
The same with DFG. I don't know. What do you mean? TD3? Because yeah, we were talking about Destiny. Like, Destiny 3 or the Vision? Oh well, div 3. It's usually easier to say.
Serious trauma detected.
Yeah, I was gonna die the best anyway. Hey, got a mosquito.
Do you want another tag vector? But it's kind of low on rolls.
I'll I think it's like real low.
The crit chance is maxed out, but the weapon damage is 9.4 and detox is 7.
I mean, if you're gonna deconstruct it, I might take it. Just might. Yeah, it's pretty expensive, but I'll just hang on to it if I don't get anything better. It's kind of my strategy for the time being. If I get something better, which stronghold do we want to do? I would say DUA, right? Get some exos out of it.
Or if you don't mind the Roosevelt, because I have it as a prior objective.
Okay, well. Oh well. Let's go do that too. Also, yeah, if anybody else also wants to join us, we're kind of doing a weekly. We're kind of halfway through it, but we're gonna go do a few more activities in the zones and stuff, and also, well, a stronghold. So. Wait, was this also the
Weekly legendary.
Do you want to?
I mean, we can.
Hmm.
For
Yeah.
that, I could change to different character, but I didn't have that project done. But I don't have the prior objectives on that. I'm fine.
Let's just do it alright.
Okay.
Just for speed as well. Also, yeah, 2-manning it. Well, we had the full 4-man. Same deal. Fog Oracle skills.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Taking down the outcast stronghold and neutralizing their
Sticking
leader,
to
Emmeline
this
Shaw, will
bestie
do
build.
serious damage to the faction. Also,
We're gonna
Henry has
change after
intel
this.
that a mechanical engineer from the campus
Well, actually, I
settlement
don't
was
mind
brought
this
here
bestie
recently,
build.
so be on the lookout for captives.
You've got a few hostiles
Definitely okay.
Which one is it? The triple tick build?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, the Langmo. I was just messing about with it since I moved it to this character.
You think you can run?
Immediate medical assistance needed.
I'm on fire.
More bad guys just past the fuselage of a cargo plane. No indication they heard the shooting.
Anything? Not a goddamn thing. Why are we patrolling this far out? Cause Emmeline told us to.
I mean, yeah, the
Take it up with her if you got a complaint.
Chinese system as well, just like needing to input a for a lot of the games you need to input like your what in other countries would be like your social security number kind of thing.
Yeah. And they as well track your bank account because you can only spend like $60 a week on a single game.
Cause it isn't. Shut your damn mouth before I shut it for you.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Both of you
Kinda
shut up.
choices which are kind of weird to us. Yeah.
Yeah. China has like strict laws on the gaming part. If you're under 18, you can't play more than 1.5 hour a day on a weekdays and 3 hours on weekends.
Serious trauma detected.
I don't know how it's for adults.
My
Agent
bad.
down.
Those outside have sacrificed themselves for you. Prove that their sacrifice was not in vain.
Hurry! Let's move!
There's no direct way into the main compound from where you are. If you can get up on the wing, you can detour around to the west along the quarantine barricade.
Yeah. I'm also curious to see if they'll put the harvest out again.
I kind of hope so. I need more of them.
Yeah. Also, at some point, because also if they like give a project or something again, like, well, actually, I hope they don't use their newfound powers of making a project once per account. See the persistence from there.
Yep. Pick to the zoomies.
There, bro.
You're coming up on a burn pit. At least half a dozen hostiles, but it doesn't look like they're expecting you.
Setting up long range. So and too much, too much. Two-man scaling is also kind of the easiest scaling anyway. So that on top with the modifier, I'm just burning through this shit. Because that's the thing with the modifiers as well. They give a lot of damage if you do it right. Maybe I'm going to check the thing with teammates, pulse, and heartbreaker. Yeah, we're gonna try that after this. I'll try to remember.
It's hard to focus with a gun pointed at your head. Help me, please.
I have the heartbreaker on the different character
Guys
here.
are
So.
insane.
Also, I need to
Get me
actually
outta here.
that build picture or the build is done. The build picture just needs to get done. Wait, is that mosquito or?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a crit pistol build.
Yeah. No, I saw the icon there. I was just like, wait,
Yeah.
just didn't register for a second. That little mosquito, mosquitoing move then. Actually, I should put a mosquito actually in a bunch of places as well.
Works great on the Chungas.
Yeah. Well, the thing is also with it going to be like it works on Marauders and stuff where Sledge didn't. You get this lead too. Yep, the spawn place of the world activities and such. No. But the Ouroboros, no, nerf is still good. It's still usable. It's kind of on par with
I hope you
some other
burn this
weapons
whole
with
place to the
measured and stuff,
ground.
but especially solo now, weapons with killer definitely kind of like attack vector with killer or just a dark winter can do pretty decent things.
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Hey, Agent. Thanks. I don't know if I can put into words how much it means that you
armor
came
is
around. If I don't see you again, good luck.
Oh, don't worry, Emmeline, he'll see us again. But it's definitely not like there's now a bunch of exotics that are so much better than. So situationally, chatterbox, like if you're doing activities and stuff,
you're gonna have to find a way
chatterbox,
to
where you're
unseal
getting a
it.
lot of kills and then can keep some uptime on it, because at 3 stacks, the new chatterbox beats the new Oreo. Like, it's way past it. At 2 stacks, it's a little bit behind it. At 3 stacks, it's quite a bit past that. So. Yeah, so we get some rogues. Activity spawns and other reason control guns very quickly. I haven't noticed anything different there. Keep in mind that, yeah, so for instance, during the day and stuff, it's kind of also depends on which, like, zone, but maybe if it's not a zone you're familiar with. But some zones also just spawn faster than others. At least for, like, I spend a lot of time in Southwest and stuff, that seems the same. Just keeping it long range.
It's kind of working out for that build because with all the optimal range,
They're bound to be expecting you.
I'm not losing that much damage.
Yeah.
But yeah, by the teeth, it just compensates for it.
I mean, yeah. Well, the thing is, if you're like, yeah, setting up for by the teeth anyway, might actually not be a bad idea. Although I think just slapping out in that vision area would be
A group of hostiles is moving toward
most
a boat
of the
on
way
east
there
shore.
already.
They're escorting someone who appears to be unarmed.
If Emmeline gets away, finding her isn't gonna be easy. You've got to stop that boat. Find a way to the shore and make sure that boat doesn't get away.
Greetings back from also cold, but not as cold likely. It's more, is it more western or is it more southern Netherlands? It's more western southern. No. Much for the work. Looking forward to the. Oh yeah, no. That is definitely on the docket. The level, or the, well, new, like, updated watch alt thing. Actually, I
That's
might.
outside optimal, okay. I was thinking I can shoot the sniper from here.
I mean, well, the thing is, even outside of optimal, like the render or the because the render distance is like 125, but the hit detection is like 10.
Hasn't launched yet. Looks like
Kind
they're in the
of
process of fueling
different
it.
weapons have difference.
There are big
It's like
tanks on either
10.
side of the
It's
boat.
basically 100
Those
to
tanks
like
are our
102.
primary
I think.
target. What about Emmeline?
Already aboard
I saw the sniper, but I tried to shoot at him and didn't register.
Oh,
I
yeah.
needed to like see the purple above his head. Chevron above him, the icon.
Oops, all requittals. Start on the left. Knowingly, one of the things with that range thing is that it's not always very accurate.
Yeah, sometimes it's showing me that I'm inside the short range, but I'm still getting the requital.
Well, there I had it actually with
Serious trauma
like
detected.
long range going into medium range. And that enemy became yellow and I still kept shooting him and no requital.
I'm coming for you! Not my eyes!
Immediate medical assistance needed.
Ah, shit, there was one more. Oh, okay.
Agent out of action.
Over here!
There's one more as well. Yep.
Don't shoot at me, please. Thank you.
I have a family. Shoot at them instead.
Okay, this wasn't shooting, so he listened.
I need to kill the one.
Yeah, there's another one.
Yeah, whichever way I get up, there's a bunch of stuff coming our way.
Serious
Also
trauma
minigun.
detected.
Yep,
Agent down.
that's me. Just need to do the plants though. Okay. Run away!
For those who spread the green.
Without their leader and their stronghold, the outcasts are going to be much less of a problem than before. You know, what happened to them was horrific. But what they did was even worse. I just hope they're finally at peace.
I'm gonna wipe this. I'll probably get a catharsis. Sure, I might make that the next video. Put that in between the AR and SMG. Because it doesn't change much, the level 31 to 40, but the old ones are basically now out of date. Also, I could just mix them together into one video, basically, so... Spawn for true sounds, all true sounds bounties, Constitution Hall when I'm not even there. So all bounties of True Sons variety, all of them will always go to, like if you pick them up from doing things, they will always go to Constitution. That's also why like I have some bunch here and basically none here. The only times you will have some, if you have some for like True Sons, like I have one challenging here, True Son. This is from a daily bounty, or this from a daily project, or a daily or a weekly project. Those can go anywhere, and they can be True Sons and then go anywhere. But if you pick it up from the ground, hostage rescue, public execution, all of those kind of stuff, and it's a True Sons bounty, or even Snitch, it will always go to Constitution Hall. There is no... That's been a thing... oh, I'm not sure if it's been all the way since like year one, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's all the way. Okay, so yeah, we need some activities in White House Zone, in Downtown West, and Constitution. Let's go finish up the ones in Constitution. first. Should we just go with the control point?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Actually, wait, let me see. I'm gonna pop a bounty here. So yeah, maybe we do a bounty and activity. We need two. Especially if it puts it there. Yeah, let's go do that, and then we can go do like that public that is underneath the control point we have captured.
Yeah, I don't run modifiers that much, but with this build, when I'm running it with the modifiers, it's way better.
I mean, yeah, modifiers carry it almost. I mean, yeah, if you're gonna invest so much into optimal range, like you need the modifiers, right? But yeah, people wanted to see your builds. I'm gonna just show it. But yeah, DNH glass chest with 3-piece Visionary and Fox and Claws out. 5893. That's not too bad. Although, well, you can likely actually swap a crit chance to crit damage at that point. Actually, if you're gonna run it with the mod, you could actually put it even like at 40 or something. And
Target near you.
although, well, you would have to give up either liability or the other one for retribution.
I can take out liability because I'm still like far range. I'm not close that much.
Yeah.
Which was it? The retribution, right? Yeah.
Yeah, just for like that can be a extra coyote almost.
So crit damage on this.
But basically the intent for
Friendly
those.
combatants detected.
But yeah, it's to get the optimal range up. That's why this thing has like an optimal range up to there. But this is mostly as well then kind of effective with modifiers, because outside of modifiers, you like this thing, like you kind of need the bump from that as well.
I'm on 46. I maybe can drop one more even. But I don't know if I'm gonna be up on the stacks full the whole time. But why not? Let's do it.
I mean, the thing is with retribution as well, you don't need it like full. You just need enough to cover. And you just usually get a few like mid-range shots here and there. And just...
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it under 46.
Also, actually, in this case, like I'm quite often at long-range coyote. So, ready?
Yep.
Sure, maybe turn on a few directives. Right? Oh, actually, yeah. Let's after this. Oh no, let's do it after all of the. Let's do it after all of them, because I need to swap characters.
Okay.
There's a thing I wanted to check. Somebody is having issues with. If somebody else pulsed, if their Heartbreaker would not trigger.
Target spotted.
That was close.
It's about as close as we can make it to that.
Vital signs critical.
Target down. Good job. That's the target, Agent.
What are you agents gonna be left alive?
Agent incapacitated.
That has me though.
Serious trauma detected.
Oh no, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead. No, no, no. Thank you. No? Oh, that was close.
The injector almost inject into you.
Agent, target spotted.
Do you want M870?
No,
Guitar?
I'm good.
Yeah, I had like 20 in the stash, I needed to clear them out.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm half stacked now. Does it? Oh.
I mean, it goes up to 50, so that's already 25.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop that crit chance.
Yeah.
I'm on 60 already.
Oh yeah, I'm coyoting as well, so.
Yeah. Okay, crit damage. Should I maybe get a claws out as well? With the crit damage. Oh, I was thinking we're done. It was
No.
just 2 of them.
No, usually there's gonna be. It's pretty rare for it to. I mean, it does happen, but pretty rare for it to just end downstairs there. So in here, actually, recruitals are kind of annoying because.
Yeah,
Although
I want
actually-
the mid-range damage, but
Yeah.
okay, let's get this one first.
Oh, that didn't land where I was thinking it was gonna go.
Target down. Good job. That's another one down. Good job, Agent.
Yeah, shall I just turn on some world directives? Well, the thing is, that's gonna despawn. What time is it? It's becoming morning. It's gonna. We have like. Because let's actually take cool skills.
It's 6 in the
spawn.
morning, so it's gonna spawn a bunch.
Actually, should we take all 5?
Why not?
You're pistoling.
Yeah.
We'll just have to deal with it. It's gonna reset us anyway. Let's get down there.
I'm gonna
'Cause I'll
jump the White
go-
House and try to craft claws out with crit damage.
Friendly combatants detected.
Well, actually, so I think I'm gonna then swap to like combat medic or something.
Okay.
I don't have a coyote on that, so. But you should still be kind of like fine. We needed one more disown. Yeah. You know what? Let's see if. Oh yeah, let's just go do it there. Second. I'll start running over there. You can take your time. Yeah, let me catch up here as well. That's missing for boosted character post update. Just as one yesterday only after the Sun project. That's you're missing, or is that more recent than that? The start of this season was that. Oh, because I've gotten my. Because now, do you mean at like level 31? Because yeah, at level, if you're at level 30 and 31 and stuff. Because yeah, now there you don't have the SHG requisition
Target is near you, Agent.
and stuff anymore. It's also why nowadays it's going to be better to do New York start over a DC start.
Time to.
Division agent, over here!
I got it! All right. Great. Come on, do your.
Oh, there.
I'm gunning.
Didn't really understand. Oh, okay, yeah. That was a purple one. That was that guy's one. Oh. And they're scrubby. It's a cool name.
Don't have enough holster material just to optimize that claws out with crit damage, so I'm gonna save that for later.
Alright.
Back out on the street.
Out of DC!
Off the wall. Up we go. It's also likely for this afternoon. Gonna finish up the weekly, although I still have a bunch of activities to do for it. And then,
Immediate medical assistance needed.
There's one on. Where is he? Oh, I'm just blind. It's right next to me.
Agent down.
fucking thing got me.
Agent vital signs.
Oh, I
Zero.
respawned there again. I got a lawnmower in the back. Surprise lawnmower. Trying to get the other guy.
No. Was close.
Is it not level 40? Or, because Jason, was that question about, like, was that at level 30 and 31 and stuff? Or was that at, like, level 40? There's oddities there. 'Cause I'm pretty sure I've been getting the SHU requisitions with characters that have been, like, recently boosted. So, or recently, you know, just watch alted. I feel I would have noticed if their projects were missing. But yeah, at level 30, 31 and stuff, or before 40, yeah, you no longer have that requisition. That got removed at the start of the season. But you now have a different way of getting exotics, because that was, you know, that was there for XP part. We can just do a New York start basically instead. We get that same one level basically.
Serious trauma detected. Hostile shock trap detected.
Target neutralized. Good work.
Just at the edge.
Target down. Good job. You got the target. Nice. Thank you for keeping us safe, Agent.
You're welcome, man. Are you there? I wonder if we'll ever figure out why Manny's so sad nowadays. Let's get that two crates in here as well. Here. And yeah, let's go to downtown West. Let's go get this territory and then the control points. Actually, let's go get that territory and we'll see if more things spawn. What am I just doing activities? It's faster. That away. I actually might have said there's a rifle. Should maybe actually trade the OD tech tank over to this character, and then the SMG. Oh yeah, no, actually that didn't work because of that, right? Too many weapon types on character 3 for technician. Because they also have sniper and stuff.
They're gonna reload.
Also, I'm gonna supercharge here because invincible shields, why not?
Detecting additional hostile contacts.
Mostly because I accidentally pulled out my cam. For second thought, apparently that was on a
Access key detected.
tech tank. Oh, that was likely an extra activity actually there.
I'm kinda surprised that I'm not dying that much with class cannon.
I mean, you know, kind of.
And especially with me just standing in the open in the middle with the shield, like, yeah, I'm gonna tank everything.
I mean, even at red, like that bulwarks has quite a bit of survivability. Okay, let's go get that public. It's in the cheese area. And there's elite territory up north. For the last one of this zone.
Welcome to the campus. We can offer you shelter and security. In return, you will be expected to contribute. Register the
Is that, did you know, another part?
I'm kind of an actual unique sign for that thing. Actually, let's go from this side. I'm gonna go from this side here. Although actually no, I should have gone from the north just over a long way. I'm also gonna grab some of these staggerants. I need to change the mag on the thing.
Oh, there's the red one. Let's steal that one.
Murderer acquittal.
Incoming hostiles detected.
Behind. Yeah. This zone is Legatus today, so.
I got a great chance handling obliterate chest. Do you want that?
I'm good. Actually, I think I already have a crit chance, crit damage, obliterate chest already.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Or well,
try
crit
that
chance,
one
crit
out
damage.
With 93R, because that's kind of like the only pistol that can keep up the stacks easily enough.
No, that could be a. Yeah, let me catch you up. Need to be a doctor. A lot of. Oh yeah, so I'm running the high end combat medic. It's actually also in the build collection. It's 1.08. So I'm running this one, but this one isn't per se the greatest. Actually, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna link to the recommended. Was in the recommended list there. I'll put in by chance. All of the combat medics are in there, but there's also a striker one. The striker one is a lot more effective than this thing. The reason I'm doing a lot of damage is more the modifier. So I'm keeping to long range. I'm letting Bite the Teeth kind of do its thing. or in close range liability. This thing, of course, is not a slouch with damage, but yeah, the modifier, there's a lot of damage there. Something in the streets there as well. No.
Time to move on them. You're gonna need another fire.
Detecting additional hostile
Yeah,
contacts.
kill this guy.
Incoming hostiles detected. Detecting additional hostile contacts.
Ms. Rager for when it comes to oh, he's over there.
Access key detected.
Melvin. But yeah, you can definitely make a healing build that can do a bunch of damage. Enough to be valuable enough. But then the thing is, yeah, you could also be a red FI, which heals less, but does buffing. This doesn't do any buffing. Wait, what is the last one? Oh, there. So I haven't done a elite territory here in like forever. I actually didn't remember where the boxes were. It's quite rare for me. Yeah, let me also get you on this side.
I'm gonna go for a drink. I'm gonna be right back.
No. Five directives. Okay. There's a memento, one piece policy, gunner. I use the UIC. Does it look worse the best? Tell me it's something better. I mean, yeah, I can understand the piece of policy, but actually, yeah, it's not the worst idea that could help you with dealing with no regen. I mean, kind of sounds like a tech tank almost, like the OD tech tank. That's what I've been running a bit for 5 directives, but also the triple tick OD kind of works well for that kind of thing. So. Especially also if you're running the modifier, yeah, you get so much damage from there that you can't go palisade and then gunner, maybe even for extra ammo. I don't know. Well, indeed, yesterday I had to skip out as work got in the way. Actually, you are running gunner already. Carnage would also be a decent pick in there, turns out. Although the Carnage is pretty jumpy, and you could pair them. You could have... Although you would, especially for like solo 5 directives, Scorpio is kind of nice, like for the moments where you need that. Yeah, actually I'm gonna already... Well, all of them are kind of... I will need plenty anyway. I'm gonna start running for this thing. And then I'll hold short. And hey there, Alex. And hey, Salt as well. New meta, yeah. Well, actually, for this season, as well, OD is gonna be kind of...
Hey, Agent. I've got some new
Back.
contracts.
I'm at the snitch.
Good hunting.
So I need to grab an extra banny out of it. Yeah, let's actually go do that propaganda. That's my initial idea, but then it's okay with that guy. I almost recruited myself. I wish there was some color in that icon, but I kind of also understand, like, if they would put color in it, it would be too much like the Stellite. But sometimes on like that was like on that garage door. It was with a garage door background, and it didn't register for me though as recruital. For a second.
Oh, there are enemies in the back. I was hoping that there would be like the guy that's chilling.
Yeah, might be him actually, because he's like, I don't see any others. So actually, he might go back
Can you start relaxing, please?
Yeah, no. He's
walking away.
Yeah, I would have gone back to the tree pretty quickly. The funny thing with that is as well, it's actually it does a copyright claim if it's in the stream, like for the VOD. It's apparently like it's a copyrighted song. Yeah.
He's immune? Oh yeah, outside optimal.
Oh, well, that's outside hit rank. It's not even.
Yeah, well, if it's outside optimal skill, still can do damage, but not immune.
Yeah. Let's check it for. If there was loot, but there isn't. At least it wasn't for me. Yeah, let's go end some propaganda. Wait, who did you find?
I will. 2 enemies threatening a civilian. Couldn't let that slide.
Yeah. So you trigger in combat.
Our enemies want you to stop living life and know the city's theirs. But the hyenas, we tore up the rule book long ago.
They tore up the rulebook? That's against the rules. It's written in the rulebook.
Now you can.
Rule number 1: don't tear up the rule.
Rule number 2: follow the rule 1.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they get murdered.
Access key detected. Progress halted. Manual override required. Progress resumed.
I'll likely get the last one, right? And he's sticking away at long range and just letting by the teeth.
Manual override required.
Do that.
I got that camo. Show me your head.
It still feels weird to be way outside of optimal when doing anything.
Hostile control point nearby.
There was another activity? Okay.
Oh, that guy, these were likely returning with resources. Yeah. Okay, so we just need 2 more. Yeah, let's just go get this public and then likely that territory down south. And then we're done with the weekly. Yay. This guy with build for the DZ. So overall, DZ and stuff, PvP and stuff is its completely own like kind of world as well. I'm not really into that anymore. I used to DZ a lot. But in the build collection actually, so from the recommended at the bottom you can get to the builds collection. It's just a little link. There's actually if you control F you can search, and then you can, there's 2 builds in there for DZ. They haven't been updated yet to their new stats, but also not much is going to change. Just they're going to lose 2 crit chance, and you're likely not going to use Oreo anymore. But there's the cookie cutter, Adrenaline Rush, Unbreakable. Yeah, I said it right for once.
Incoming hostiles detected.
Hell yes!
What you need? An invincible shield.
Yeah, that helped because I was just
That
my
was
shield was
about to break.
almost dead.
Yeah. I was like, can I even get it off before it breaks? But yeah, just barely. Just barely.
Yeah, I need to die like 10 times before I realize that I'm running glass cannon.
I mean, it's working out for you, right?
Yeah, so far.
So far, so good. Because that's always also the thing with pistols and rifles and stuff like that is, you know, blitz rate is so standard, it's easy to forget that.
I mean, I can try obliterate, but I don't think I would keep up the stacks.
You'll be, actually, with what you have on, you might be better off with, like, Gunslinger. Just doing this swapping. These LMG guys are always the worst because you can't make it.
Detecting additional hostile contacts.
Because by the teeth resets on headshots, and when they lay on the ground, it's kind of hard to actually just like hit body shots on. Yeah, it's, the weekly done as well. Yeah, 14 caches, although a few will be other stuff. It's actually going to get cleaned up. Actually, if you have a moment, just spare panic, let's try the. Let's see if the Heartbreaker thing. When somebody else is pulsed.
Heartbreaker?
No, somebody was talking about it not working when somebody else has pulsed.
Uh-huh.
I want to see if that.
So, like, it needs to be your pulse for it to work, okay?
Yeah, at least that's the issue they had. But I'm not convinced
I think the
yet.
spotter drone should work well for that. Just to try it out.
The full pulse, preferably. Just,
Full pulse? Okay.
Yeah, the thing is with the spotter drone, you can't be certain that it's actually pulsed.
Yeah, and it
sometimes.
doesn't spot for like too long.
Also, I don't know if you want that incoming repair, but I have too many, so.
I'm gonna move that over to my raid character.
This guy's literally just going, please help me.
Yeah, I saw that as well. It's like, but...
Okay, inspect the armors. I mean, you could use some help. But yeah, no. Kinda busy. Yeah, let me quickly Oh, actually, I need to pop these caches though.
The question is with what he needs help. If he wants raids, like, yeah, good luck.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, his toe is stuck underneath the couch. That's actually.
Help me, I'm gonna send you my address and please come help me. I'm stuck under the couch.
I was gonna make a step bro joke, but let's not.
I mean, he can use that on me because I'm in the bro clan, right?
Yep. Works out way too good, turns out. Let's dig on all these. Alright. Swap, and then if you join up on me, well, because we're just gonna try that out, and then actually gonna go raid someone, because I do need to do some work stuff. And also I'm gonna edit together that video. Also in the background already, I'm gonna go see who is available.
Safe area entered.
Yeah, I'm loaded in. This guy's one on this. Did in the end craft this? Yeah. So, but then unload that is also now. Do need to actually add this to the
Another
build
agent
collection.
has joined your group.
Save with the M4. But here I'm gonna take off my link laser pointer. So that's when I do that doesn't. Yeah, if you pulse or actually wait, let's set this to.
Yeah.
Like an invulnerable, so it stays.
Let's put it to 5.
Yeah.
So it's close. Okay.
Oh, actually, yeah. Huh. Interesting. Wait, this is out. Yeah, that's out. Does have a link laser
And you
pointer.
can't override pulse, right? With your own.
Oh, I can. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting, actually. Huh. Because, yeah, once I headshot it and actually pulse it through that, I can stack.
And if you have the link laser pointer and I pulsed already.
And these enemies are kind of weird for that. Because quite often, you know. Okay, no, their dirt worked. I think, although I think yours expired there. I do it again now? Okay. Yeah, it overwrites it. Huh. Is that maybe... I've never really paid attention if like Heartbreaker... Like, Heartbreaker already stacks horrible in solo. But maybe then even in group it's even worse. Because it might be just everybody's... can only stack on their own pulse. Now because pulse again now. Oh wait, actually there I'm stacking. Oh wait, I put the link laser point. Let's take the links. I need to lose my stacks for a second. Remove the set, reapply the set. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not even getting a stack here. And then when I do one headshot, I wonder if that's always been like that, and I just never noticed.
I mean, you always run link laser
yeah.
pointer heads with Heartbreaker, so.
Or even like when I've ran it without link laser pointer or something, it's always been like I run my own polls,
Yeah.
and so few people run polls and stuff in Countdown. But yeah, that's even more reason. All right, actually, so wait, let's try that then. You have a skill build available?
Skill build? Yep.
Yeah, let's see if actually the tiering matters, because I have technician here, of course. So I'll be...
Just take the bro build out. Mhm.
And say pulse first, yeah. I'm gonna pulse after. Okay, that's stack. Wait, just as a control as well, actually. I'm gonna let this one fade and then keep pulse after.
Should I pulse first or you pulse first?
No, just you pulse and then just to make sure that. Oh no, actually I am stacking now. Here. What? God damn it. Let me remove that. Wait. Yeah, let's wait for it to dissipate. Okay, pulse now. I did like laser pointing. No, only losing stacks. If I pulse now. Actually, if you pulse now as well. Okay, no, I keep stacking.
So I think if there's just the sole existence of the pulse from you, it's stacking.
Yeah.
But when it's just someone else's, it doesn't stack.
Well, no, there it kept going for quite a bit longer than my pulse would have.
Okay.
So that's the weirdness there. Well, it's good to know. But yeah, so having linked laser pointer kind of makes that a little bit less of an issue. Is there actually a few pulse now? Because yeah, just the linked laser pointer will just pulse and then for me and then we can stack. Okay. Odd. Indeed. Yeah, I've never tried it out in that way. But now we kind of know. Although, it only will affect you really if you don't have the linked laser pointer as well. Because it seems to be like if you have the linked laser pointer, if somebody else pulses, it seems to be like everybody's like pulses are just active. You know, it's not one overwriting it, the other or something. It's like all are. Because yeah, if you have the linked laser pointer, it's less of an issue at least. So even more reason to do so. But that was actually an interesting interaction. I hadn't thought about it. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me actually, because I do need to actually go and do some work stuffs. But yeah, thanks Pamuk for joining me. Gonna hop out of here.
Thanks for having me.
You
Yeah,
are no longer
we'll
in a group.
catch you around.
You're gonna be on this evening or just tomorrow?
Oh no, I'll be on this evening. Actually, yeah, tomorrow and Saturday I won't be.
Okay.
I'll be back this evening. Let's catch you then.
All right. Laters.
Laters. Yeah. So yeah. That's a oddity to keep in mind as well. Although yeah, I wonder. We'll mess about with that. I might actually dual box for that, so I have like perfect control over both sides, and we can kind of see both sides as well. If like maybe the linked laser pointers interfere with each other, but I wouldn't say generally there is much difference in stacking in group. But also, like, it's been a while since we've had like multiple heartbreakers going in at once because it's just not a common popular build. And then yeah, let's actually, I want to have a peek in the category for a second, because what are the people I'm kind of could pick here? they've been very much at it for quite a few hours. So I'm like, maybe they're going towards an ending. Although I'm not seeing any like other names that I'm like, yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, let's see.
Black Friday deals.
Shut up. Trying to just check what one streamer was up to there. What's that? Rise yeah, but Rise has been going for a while. I'm not sure if he's like going towards an ending. Just trying to see for that. We're gonna add instead. It seems to be going still, right? Yeah, let's just go with Rise. Because everybody else as well has been going for like hours and hours, so I'm kind of like likely towards their end. Yeah, we'll go with Rise. And I'll be back this evening. I'm gonna, yeah, for instance, this build needs to go into the build collection. A few others, actually, did I still need to optimize this thing? I see now. Just optimize it. No. And yeah, I want to add a few builds to the build collection. That video as well, I'm gonna edit it together. Although likely I'm not gonna finish everything because it needs a bunch of timestamps, so I'll just leave that for after the evening stream. So yeah, we'll go and do those kind of things. So yeah, hope you join me for those, and we're just gonna go raid Rise. Yeah, words and stuff and things and shenanigans afoot. So enjoy Rise. I'll be back in the evening, and as always, have a good day.